We're live. I think. I don't know, guys. Let me know. This is gonna drive me crazy. Oh my god. I got my hair done, as you guys can see. It's a lot darker. Got my roots fixed. I'm getting ready for my conference next week. Let me know if you can hear me in the chat because I've got like a million fans going in this house to try and keep it cool. And it's like loud for me. So I'm a little bit worried it's going to be loud for you guys. You can hear me and see me? Okay, perfect. Thank you, Victor. I appreciate that. Oh, God, guys. All right. I did bring my double glasses so that way I can see the chat a little bit clearer. Hi, everyone. Hi there, Jean Frazier. Lacey, thanks for popping over here. Victor, White Swan, Joanna. Always a pleasure. Awesome. So, I've been quite emotional this week, guys. I'm just going to be real with you. This could be, I've started these ones out before like this. This could be like really great, or this could be like terrible. I don't know which way this is going to go because I don't have any notes written. I'm going based on what stood out to me the most, but I have been studying the character that my guides have told me to study and have seen the synchronicities kind of fall into place. So I plan on talking about that in just a little bit, but for now I'm just going to just talk a little bit. I'm, as a woman who has gone through menopause, I guess you could say, if that's what it is. I don't even know anymore because sometimes I get periods, sometimes I don't. But anyway, my hormones have been a little bit crazy. On top of the fact that I did briefly mention to you guys last week that I had some memories unlocked for me, some really powerful memories. And actually, I had a friend of mine help me in identifying exactly what kind of triggered it, which was this QHHT session / hypnosis session that I did with Barry Littleton. So I want to give him some credit and some props for that because, often his work kind of goes unacknowledged, like a lot of the real people out there. And he watches my channel a lot. We're really close. We're good friends, and I really respect him. And so we did a short session together where he basically hypnotized me to go back. We were going to clear traumas from past lives. And I really hope my camera isn't going to be a bitch to me today. Please, God. Okay, like will my hair move? Is that what happened? Something happened. My camera wants to be like all over the place. Oh, okay. Anyway, so we did this short QHHT session where I was going to we were going to clear some past life trauma from my body, and so he took me down to put me under whatever, and it took me back to Atlantis, which was like really, it was crazy. Like, and I kind of already sensed this lifetime before. It wasn't a good one. It was terrible. I don't even, they did something to me. I couldn't see, I didn't want to see, but they did something horrible. And we cleared some of that. I remember I just broke down and we really couldn't do anything else because I fought it at that point and I just couldn't do it. And so it was like slowly over the next couple of weeks, memories from before my soul braid walk-in started to come up for me. Like I started asking for some explanations on stuff from my guides, and next thing I knew it was like they guided me and they were like, well, look at this and look at this and look at that. And I was like, I see it. I was like, oh my God, I see it. Like I didn't even realize that these things were just sitting there in the background of my subconscious for so long. So this might be a heavier stream. I'm not going to pretend like it's not going to be kind of a heavy stream. So I've had a really hard time even just thinking about it. Like there are times, like, I don't know. It's like I almost have to like stay in this angry kind of place about it a little bit in order for me not to go into crying, because that's what I've been doing a lot of, is just crying like really easily. But I brought my toilet paper. next to me here in case I do start crying, so my makeup doesn't run all over my face. And yeah, so I've been very hormonal. I've been very raw, and I've just kind of been looking out into the community and seeing what examples I have of other people that I look up to and that I want to be like and that inspire me, because I've been afraid to come out and even share this stuff, quite honestly. I've been terrified of it. Okay. Oh, hi, Brian. Nice to see you. Glad you showed up. So, anyway, I've been pretty terrified of it. And I've been even kind of scared to go into this character and kind of like make it part of my identity in a way, because this character isn't like the normal lighthearted love and light, I guess you could say, almost like image of what the doctor's companions usually are. Because obviously, in Doctor Who, the doctor's the good guy, and he has these companions, and the companions are always like coming, like, they go out and they fight bad guys. They don't really show much depth when it comes to shadows, though, except for Clara. They did with Clara at one point. I'm getting a little hot, overheated already. Okay, they did with Clara a little bit when her boyfriend in the show died, and she wanted the doctor to take her back in time, like take her back to find him or find out wherever he's at, since he was dead. And in order to do that, she like manipulated the doctor and stole his TARDIS keys and took them to like a volcano and threw the keys one at a time into the volcano until he agreed to help her find Danny, right? And so that was really the only big shadow that you get to see, except I guess with Amy too. Amy turns into a little bit of a murderer when it comes to the woman that kidnapped her daughter. But this character, okay, so this character, her name is Missy, right? Okay, so hopefully I can go into this and also show you the synchronicities at the same time that showed up for me, that always show up for me when Spirit's talking, because that's really why I'm doing this. I'm trying to show you, I'm giving you an example. Like, this is how Spirit works for me. This is how they communicate with me to tell me things about myself, and so characters and shows and TV shows and songs, and that's like the biggest ways that they speak to me. And there was always this one song that I had questions about that came through that was a really powerful and meaningful and magical song for me. And I'll just tell you what it was. It was Under the Cover of Darkness by The Strokes. Okay? And so there were some lyrics in it, like, and the reason I bring this up, okay, and I even posted it in the chat up above, okay? Now, I've talked about this before. I've talked about this situation. I've talked about this synchronicity before, but I just want to, for people who might be new here, we're just going to go over it again real quick, and then we're going to jump in to Missy, which is, people think that, Doctor Who is the last of the Time Lords because the Doctor was the one that was responsible for ending the Time Wars between him and the Daleks. And to do that, he had to basically destroy his whole planet of Gallifrey. And so all the Time Lords are supposedly gone from the universe. In the show, that's like part of the backstory of it. But actually, that's not true. There is another Time Lord. There is another last of the Time Lords that people forget about, and her name is Missy. Okay, and so when they brought this character to my attention, well, first, actually, let me go over what I said I was going to with Under the Cover of Darkness. So, some years ago, okay, I think maybe 6 years ago now at this point, it was after a lot of the magical, like these heart wishes I was making, all these magical experiences I was having, I got activated my heart got activated or whatever, at this conference, all right, and I'd had all these crazy dreams, like tons of stuff just all thrown into one, and I was just like, it was like I was given all these puzzle pieces, and then I had to figure out what they meant. And so part of the things that they had told me was that I was getting married, right? And I told them, no, I'm never getting married again, so that's not going to happen. And the dream turned out to be representative of what I believe to be called the alchemical marriage, okay, which is something in Freemasonry, which I'm not a Freemason or anything like that, but they do have knowledge that is valuable for us to look at and understand, right? And so there's this thing called squaring the circle and the alchemical marriage, which is when you unite the two halves of yourself, the opposites of yourself, into one being. So that way God can express himself fully in this vessel the way it would be expressed in this vessel. It's like a merger of sorts, a working together with the personality, the ego personality and the spirit. They come together, right? And they build up the tower. They build up your tower, which is your beliefs. Okay. And so I was sitting there at my table this one day, and this is when the Strokes just started, like, I started to get to know their music. And you know how important music is to me, right? So I'm getting to know the music, and I was just listening to a random song, and you know how YouTube creates like a little playlist for you without you even trying, and they put in some new things you hadn't heard. And so I was sitting there, and I never heard the song before at the time, and I never seen the video or anything because I hadn't heard the song before. And I was getting ready to do a tarot reading for myself. And so I cut the deck into two halves, and I'd taken note of the cards that were on each bottom of the deck that I had cut. And it was the Four of Swords and the Ace of Cups. And so I was getting ready to ask God, like, was this a real marriage? Like, how could that be a real marriage? You know what I'm saying? Like, I know I feel these ways inside now. I feel like completely come to life again. Like, love was reborn into my heart again, you know, which I had been lacking for so long. True love in my heart. And we're going to get, and that's really what it is. Like, they've been taking me back to the place where I died, basically, where the person before the Soulbird walk-in came, when she died, Cassandra before me died. And so it's kind of like a full circle thing. So I was asking God at the time, I was getting ready to be like, was this a real marriage, you know? And then this song comes on, and it was called Under the Cover of Darkness. And I don't know why, but I'm like jamming to it, you know? And I'm like, wow, this song is good. I absolutely love this song, you know? And so I'm just listening to it, and I'm singing, and I'm moving the cards like this. I'm moving with the deck in my hand split. And by the end of the song, I'm like, okay, it's time to shuffle and pull these cards. And before I got a chance to do that, I looked down at the bottom of the deck to go shuffle, and the Four of Swords had changed. After me listening to this song and feeling with this, the card changed. Now, I had not touched the decks at all. Like, I hadn't shuffled. This was like the first time I actually saw like real magic happen right before my eyes. Okay. And so the card that it had switched to, the Four of Swords, had switched to the Two of Cups. Which, I mean, if there's going to be any card that would represent something like this, okay, it would definitely be a Two of Cups or the Lovers. But the Two of Cups, and then the Ace of Cups was still over here. And my mind is blown at this point. And I got goosebumps. I've got chills. And now I'm like, okay, well, where did the Four of Swords go? You know, and I'm looking in the, like, where did it go? You know, and it's not in the half. It's not in the hand that it was originally at. It was literally, it had hopped to the other deck, the other half of the deck, and gone behind the Ace of Cups. And I was just like, wow, like, this is incredible. You know what I'm saying? I just want to ask anyone out there who's tarot readers, who knows anything about tarot, if you're doing this and you were thinking this, like, this is what I'm going to ask, and you saw this happen, okay, what would you think? Would you think that maybe that might be a yes sign, even if it doesn't make sense still yet? It's like, okay, this looks like a yes, something like that to happen. But it got even crazier, because then I watched the video of it, and in the video, Julian Casablancas, who was singing it, who was basically, he's an orchestrator, okay? He comes out, and he's getting ready to do the orchestration, okay, of the whole. Now think about it, he's orchestrating something, okay? And as he's singing the song, he has a deck of playing cards, and he lays out 3 cards, and then he does this flip with one of them in the video. And then he also has a cup sitting there, a chalice of sorts, and he pours water into the cup and fills it like the Ace of Cups, and he throws the cup, you know what I'm saying, and he keeps singing. And so I was just, my mind was blown. Okay, well, I couldn't help but notice that there were some things in the lyrics that were kind of questionable to me, and I had been asking my guides about this for a long time, and they kind of just kept telling me, like, don't worry about that. Like, don't worry about that yet. It'll make sense later, which is something that they do quite a bit. Sorry, I'm peeling really bad because I got a sunburn last week, so if I'm scratching a lot, I apologize. It's like happening both sides. Anyway, so one of the things that stood out to me was the fact that in the song he said, "So long, my friend and adversary," and I just was like, adversary, like what's that about? Like why would adversary be included in there, right? Well, it just so happens that it comes into play now. It comes into play now because of the character that we're about to go over. And now I can see how this entire thing, all these experiences I've been having, have been literally orchestrating me getting to this place where I could heal probably the greatest wound that I ever experienced in this life. And so, without further ado, right? Let's go ahead and let's talk about Missy. Let's talk about Missy. Hold on, I just want to like look at the chat again real quick to see if there's anything I'm missing. Hold on. Okay, hold on. Do. Okay, Jason says he's familiar with Doctor Who, but he doesn't really know much about how the storyline goes. There's so many episodes, and it's overwhelming to start. It is, but the thing about Doctor Who episodes that I love is that, for one, they do have lore, and they do build on top of each other, but they also, you don't have to have watched all of them to be able to enjoy, unless it's like a 2-parter or a 3-parter, because sometimes there are, but you don't have to have that knowledge with you before you go into it. They usually do a pretty good job of explaining it, right? And so Missy appears after Matt Smith, the 11th Doctor. He dies, and he transforms into Peter Capaldi, the 12th Doctor, which is my favorite Doctor, as you all know, because that's the one where Clara is the main companion for most of the time. Well, Matt Smith travels with her too, but eventually, he changes, and Clara almost even stops traveling with him at that point, okay? Because the truth of the matter is that Missy, they come to find out after some episodes, that Missy is the character that introduced Clara to the Doctor. She was the one who orchestrated it, and she was the one responsible for them even getting together. In fact, she even claims to have handpicked Clara to be the Doctor's companion because it will distract him from whatever it else that is that, the Master is trying to do. Or the Master. I already said it. I just spoiled it. See, I spoil it. So Missy, okay, she's another last of the Time Lords. But when she first comes about, she basically shows herself as taking one of the bad guys that he had managed to prevent from doing some harm to the Earth. And he had killed him. And so when this guy dies, he finds himself in this garden. He wakes up and he was like a robot, like a half human, half robot type of character. Okay. And so when she comes into the picture, she's in this garden with this character, and she's basically kind of taunting the guy. And she's like, oh, I hope my boyfriend wasn't too mean to you. Did he push you out of that ship, or did you just fall? And he's like, the android is kind of confused, and he's like, boyfriend? And she's like, oh yeah, she's just joking. And she's like, because, he loves me so much. He's my boyfriend. And so that's the first glimpse that we get to see of Missy. And then the next episode we get to see her in is in this episode where I was just talking about how Danny, Clara's boyfriend, had died. Coming to find out, I didn't realize this, but doing my research that I found, apparently Missy was the one also responsible for Clara's boyfriend dying. Okay, so she kind of set this whole thing up, and it was in order to drive them to look for where Danny's consciousness was, because she had put together this entire company that was built on bringing ease to people who have loved ones that have passed on. See, what she did, she brought Time Lord technology to Earth, and it was called a matrix. Basically, she had to have 3 slivers of the Time Lord technology matrix. And what she could do with this is that if people died, she could grab hold of their consciousness and put it in this matrix. And then she created like a whole city there inside of this matrix, that she had an AI robot that could an AI interface that could go to that world inside the matrix and basically convince the consciousnesses that they had actually passed on, and that she knows that they're suffering and everything like that. So if they don't want to suffer anymore, because the catch with this is that they are still attached to their body, and so if they get cremated, okay, they feel it in this place. So what she does is she convinces them to agree to turn off their emotions in order to no longer have to worry about feeling that pain and no longer have to worry about feeling that suffering. Okay? But Danny doesn't do it, because Clara and the doctor, they go and they find his consciousness. They find this company and they go inside this building, and they're looking around and they can't find anyone to assist them. And next thing you know it, this AI interface screen comes up and it starts explaining exactly what the company is and how it brings peace to people who have lost loved ones, because now they can be kept here in this mausoleum of sorts. And in all the cases along the wall, there's these huge tanks filled with water, and in the water there's chairs, and in the chairs there's a skeleton. And so Clara and the doctor are kind of confused. They're like, why are all these skeletons here? I don't quite understand. And so anyway, the AI interface system, it reads out loud and it says exactly what the company is and everything like that. And then the doctor notices that there's actually someone behind the screen. And he says to this woman, he says, was it hard for you to read all of those words front backwards like that? And so she pops out. And she basically introduces herself as Missy, and she pretends to be a mobile interface system to help with people who are looking to sign up for their program. And so she's like, oh, wait, you haven't gotten the customary greeting package yet. And she immediately lunges at the doctor and she kisses him. Okay, she kisses him for a long time, and he's kind of like holding himself up against the wall. He's like, oh my god, what the fuck is happening here, And Clara is kind of looking at him like, what in the this is a robot that is doing this? And she was like, so she kisses him, and then she like gives him a little kiss on the nose and blows on him, and like and she steps back, and then she turns to Clara and she says, oh, you haven't received the customary package either. And Clara's like, that's okay, I don't need that. And she was like, do I need to adjust my intimacy settings? And the doctor's like, yes, do that right now. And so she's like, okay. And so they keep, looking through the place, and they find out slowly but surely what has really happened in this place, what a nightmare this place is. Okay. Because like I said, what it's doing is it's actually capturing human consciousness and it's putting it into this matrix. And all these skeletons that you see in these tanks, they start to drain the water. And as they start to drain the water, the doctor figures out that the water was actually a special type of fluid that made anything other than bones invisible. So there was actually still bodies attached to these skeletons. And actually what they were was Cybermen. Okay, so she had created an army of Cybermen. And so the doctor's running out into the street to try and warn everyone that there's a bunch of Cybermen coming. Everyone take shelter. And Missy comes up. She says to the doctor, like, don't, oh, hush now. Like, it's not a big deal. They're not going to attack anyone. Why are you losing your mind over it? And he's like, okay, who are you? Who are you? And she goes, I'm Missy. Short for mistress. And she goes, well, I couldn't keep on calling myself the master, now could I? And that is when the doctor is like, oh my god, because actually this is another Time Lord. Missy is another Time Lord, and before she was a woman, she was actually incarnated as a man known as the Master. So let's go into the master a little bit and talk about the master, because that is who I was studying this past couple weeks, is who is the master and what is he about. Okay, well, as it turns out, the doctor and the master were best friends. Growing up, they were the only equals that they had to each other. They are the only equals when it comes to their specialty and their expertise in time travel and timeline manipulation, I guess you could say, so to speak. And so they grew up together and they were best friends. They chose their names together, and they both had to, at the same age, when you're as a Time Lord, you're tested by being forced to look into the untampered schism, is what it's called, which is this rip in between the space, time, and reality, the fabric of space. And you're supposed to stare into this. And if you can make it through without going crazy, then, you pass the test. Well, the master, unfortunately, didn't quite pass the test. He actually ended up hearing these drum beats in his head all the time, which was by the sounds of 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. And so eventually, and in fact, they didn't put this in the show or anything, but apparently in the books and in the comics and everything, it is said that the doctor and the master were actually brothers that were meant to rule the planet of Gallifrey one day. But the doctor didn't want to do that. He didn't want to be a homebody. He wanted to go out there and see the universe. And so he ended up stealing a TARDIS, which Clara had guided him to, because at this point she had already, it would happen in I don't know how to explain that time, because eventually she's going to throw herself into the doctor's timeline and split herself off, so that way she can guide him in all the little places that he needs to be guided. And so it just so happens that Clara guides the doctor to take this one TARDIS because he'll have more fun with it. The navigation system likes to have its way with going to the places it wants to go, because it's a living, conscious being, too, in itself. The TARDIS is a living thing. And so the master sees the doctor leave, and he's so upset because that's his best friend, and now his best friend is going out traveling the universe, and he wants to do the same thing. So in order to find the doctor, he steals an even better, more sophisticated TARDIS, and he goes after the doctor. Now, I'm not going to get the master's story is pretty much as complicated as like River Songs or even the doctor's himself. So I'm not going to be able to get into every single incarnation he's had, because he's had even more than the doctor. I'm pretty sure they said that the count was up to like 18 or something like that. And but there were a few things that had stood out to me that was interesting about the master and the doctor's timeline, okay? Because not only are they best friends, but eventually they become their greatest adversaries. In fact, they compared it to like Sherlock Holmes and Moriarty. It's like they challenge each other, The only thing is that the master chose to be evil because he had the crazy thing going on in his head with the drum beats, which turns out to be just the beat of a Time Lord's heart, because Time Lords have 2 hearts. Okay, and so apparently in their second incarnation, okay, as they're out there traveling the universe and doing fun things together, they managed to visit this black hole where there happens to be a dark arts academy in this black hole. And it's here where the master learns how to, I feel like the word manipulation is what, he learns how to manipulate timelines without any negative consequences. That's what it is. He learns how to manipulate timelines without any negative consequences. And I don't know why, because it didn't explain in all the videos that I tried to watch about it. It didn't explain why, but the doctor apparently abandoned him in the black hole once he found out how to do that, when he could do that. Okay, so this is where the rivalry begins. This is where the adversarial role began, because the doctor had abandoned the master in this black hole for learning how to manipulate timelines without any negative consequences. And he vows, I'm going to get revenge on the doctor. The thing is that every time he almost gets there, something happens and the doctor gets rescued, right? Or the doctor ends up, foiling his plans somehow, because the doctor is good, right? The doctor is the one who we're all rooting for all the time. But, you need something to keep the storyline moving. So we have the master. And so I'm trying to think of the next thing that stood out to me about it. All right, hold on. He apparently likes to wear a lot of disguises. He likes to wear different faces. Okay. One of the other things they really liked to do together was they learned how to do hypnosis. Apparently, the master was really good at hypnosis naturally. So he taught the doctor how to use hypnosis too. And they would basically go around hypnotizing people for pranks and for fun. All right. So keep going along the timeline though. Because I knew about the master because he was in David Tennant's era, right? The master came back because every time you think the master is dead, every time you think the master is dead, they find a way to bring him back to life. He always finds a way. Okay, and this is going to come into play in a little bit when it comes to Missy. Okay, so eventually though, the master turns into Missy. She decides to regenerate as a woman, and she comes to the doctor. She messes with Clara, so the doctor will be called to come to the location of where the Cybermen are so that she could give him an army. Because she says to him basically, here's the thing, she's a killer, she's a murderer, she doesn't care, she does what she wants, without any thoughts about what it will do to other people and everything like that, because that's just who she is, the type of person that she is at this point. And so she tells the doctor, like, I created a whole army for you. She actually made it to where there was nanotechnology going up into the clouds, and that when the clouds seeded, it would go into the graves, and the nanotechnology would form around the skeletons in the grave, and they would create Cybermen, and the Cybermen would come out from the graves, and they did. And that's the thing. That's what was getting ready to happen, was all the graves were about to birth Cybermen. Okay. And she had already killed Danny, Clara's boyfriend, to put him and make him a Cyberman, so Clara wouldn't have any help, right? Supposedly. Okay, but the thing is Danny didn't turn off his emotions. Okay, so she basically gives, and whenever there's an Earth crisis, they always make the doctor the president. That's because he's so smart, and he just, he saves the Earth so many times. He loves this planet, and so he's the president at this point. That's his title, and she tells him, I have this army for you. It's a birthday present. Happy birthday, Mr. President. He says, I don't want an army though. And she said, well, I don't need one. Armies are for people who think they're right. And there's no one who thinks they're more right than the doctor, And so he basically obviously isn't going to take her up on this offer to have an army. And Danny says, I'm going to stop you from turning all of these graves into Cybermen. And she's like, how are you going to do that? He says, I'm going to go up into the clouds and I'm going to make them all burn with the technology in his suit now. And so that is what happens, right? Danny saves the day from the power of love, only he doesn't get to come back. So Clara ends up having to lose him permanently because of Missy's mingling in with whatever it is that she wants to be doing, right? Again, I apologize if this is a little bit stumbly here because I didn't write anything down. I'm literally just going off of what stood out in my memories here. So please, I hope this is making sense, okay? Especially for people who haven't watched Doctor Who, because I just absolutely do love this character now that I've watched her a lot, because it's a redemption story, okay? It's a redemption story. And I don't know if I've mentioned this before, but in my past lives, I have talked about this. I definitely was not a good guy in the past. Okay, I know you see me now, and I'm the blue fairy, and I'm doing all these wonderful, beautiful things and manifestations, but we've all had bad past lives. We all have. And unfortunately for me, I remember and I can feel what some of those have been. And that is what started off this whole journey, right? Was me doing this QHHT session with Barry and unlocking this and releasing this trauma from this past life that I had in Atlantis, which wasn't a good thing. And I think that is where the seed of hatred and wanting to go after my enemies and get revenge, I think that is where that came from, right? But let's keep going, right? So Missy is around now. Her plans are foiled. The doctor basically goes to kill her, and she has a vortex manipulator on though. And so when he shoots her, she just recharges her time traveling vortex manipulator and she just beams herself out of there. But she doesn't stop there. She started. They start working together. They team up. You know what I'm saying? They're unlikely allies a lot of the time for most of the seasons with Clara, up until after she dies. Even I'm trying to think of which the next episode I want to go to here. Okay. Okay. So eventually, oh wow, it zoomed out. Look at that. And that's what I'm doing in my mind. I'm zooming out on the whole thing. Okay, I just don't want to forget any of the important parts about her. Okay. So the next part of the story is after she's caused a lot of havoc, okay, along the route with Clara and the doctor. Eventually, though, she does get caught. She gets caught, and she's going to be sentenced to die. Okay, and so in order to kill her as a Time Lord, you have to have another Time Lord pull the execution trigger. All right, so that's what's going to happen. So the doctor now, he's had his ending with River Song. River Song is now, like, they had their 24 years under William, right? And then he comes back, and the first mission that he's called to is that he is going to have to murder his best friend, his childhood best friend and greatest adversary. And so they're on this planet, and they bring out the prisoner, and she's like, "Ooh, the doctor's here you're really gonna do this? Like, you're really gonna kill me? I'm your friend. You're gonna kill me?" And he's like, kind of just listening to what she has to say, and she does eventually break down, and she begs him. She says, like, "Please, I'm doing this without hope, without witness, without reward," which was something that was River Song's motto. Okay, that you don't do things because you want reward for it. You do things because it's decent and it's right. That's the reason the doctor does what he does. He does it because it's right, not because it's easy, but because whatever it is decent and it's right. And so the people who had captured her are basically explaining to the doctor, like, since you're going to be the one pulling the trigger to end her life, okay, we need you to also take a vow to watch over her body for 1,000 years. Because, as you know, the master doesn't stay dead. He finds a way to come back to life somehow, some way. And so he agrees. He's like, okay, I'll do that. And as Missy is sitting there on her knees, begging for him not to kill her, he pulls the trigger, and she is electrocuted. She falls to the ground. And they're like, okay, it's done then. And he's like, as on my oath as a Time Lord, I vow to watch over this body for the next 1,000 years. And so they're like, okay. And so the guards come, and they go to pick her up, and she is like, she basically jumps up and she says, "Hey, I've just been executed. How about a little bit of, like, consideration here for my body? I've just been executed. I'm on the ground, And they're like, "Oh my God, she's not dead." And he was like, "Yeah, she's not dead. I might have tinkered with your equipment a little bit." And they were like, "But you promised as a Time Lord to execute her and to watch over her for 1,000 years, her body, so she couldn't come back to life." And he was like, "I promised to watch over her body for 1,000 years. I never said anything about killing her." And then they're like, "Well, you can't get away with this. Like, she's a bad guy. She's horrible. Like, why would you do that?" And he's basically like, "It's because she's my friend." And they're like, "Well, we're not going to let you leave here alive, neither one of you." And he said, "I want you to do me a favor. I want you to look up my name under a fatality index, because that's apparently what these guys, that's what their job in this universe is they're going to." So they look up the fatality index of the doctor and all the different, and he's like, look under reasons for death under the fatality index. And I don't know what it is they see, but it scares them, because it just keeps going on and on. Like, you can hear the machine listing it off. It's like, and so as he's looking at it, he's like, you're no different than any other, sentient being with an index like this. And they're like, okay, you do have a lot of records here. Okay. And then all the other guards start to run away. And he's like, wait, where are you going? He's unarmed. He's like, "You are unarmed, right?" And the doctor's like, "Always," because he doesn't carry a gun or anything. Because he's not meant to be a warrior. He was already the war doctor once, and he killed his entire planet, and he'll never forgive himself for that. And that's why I think part of what motivates him to go out there and try and help people out there in the universe and to save planet Earth and everything like that, because he knows what that type of suffering can do to a person, an immortal being. And so he says, okay, well, you know what? She's yours then. You have to watch her for 1,000 years. So the doctor agrees, and he takes Missy, and he decides he's going to settle down on Earth because he's going to have to keep her locked in a vault. A rather big vault, but he keeps her locked in a vault. And he decides to settle down as a teacher. And so now he's teaching people about time and space in a college. Okay, and so that is when Bill Potts, the companion Bill Potts, which I really hated this companion, and this is why I don't often think about these episodes. It's probably why I never really got into Missy for a while. But the more I looked at her, the more I was like, wow, this is actually a really moving story. This is a really moving character, like I really like the depth, the turnaround of it. Okay, so she's going along to get along. She's under lock and key. What else she can do? She's a prisoner, and it is her best friend. So it's like, might as well, help them out from time to time. And so she does. She rescues their lives, him and his companions' lives, from Mars at one point. And then the doctor basically has to introduce her to his companions. And they're like, wait a second. Like, who is this? Nardal, one of his companions, already knows who it is. He's like, that is the most dangerous woman. Why would you have her here? He's like, she's the last of the Time Lords besides me. Why would I kill her? Like, I can't do that. And she's helping us out. She's giving me free TARDIS maintenance, because she had a better TARDIS than him. So she's able to, like, fix up the maintenance of the TARDIS so it will run better. And so at one point, even they do this one mission where basically at first for a while she's just watching them do missions. She doesn't get to help. She just gets to watch. And she kind of makes fun of the doctor quite a bit. She kind of likes to taunt him a lot. And at one point she says to him, like, why would you even bother saving these people? Like, they're like the episode itself, it's like the army that got saved in this particular one. They're basically stuck in this pocket dimension on Earth forever fighting in this war, but he can't get them out, and they all agree to basically live there doing that forever. So he lets them, but there's music there. There's music. And so he shares with Missy the music of the people. And now she is finally moved for the first time to start to have empathy. The music sparks empathy in her. And she starts to cry, and she starts to cry often. And she asks the doctor, like, is this what it's like, to like care about other people and to have empathy for other people? And he's like, yes. And he's like, I think it's time that you and I become friends again, because clearly you seem to be being moved, but I don't know for sure. I don't really quite trust it yet, but let's be friends now. And so she does. She gets to have a bigger part in helping him go on his missions that he goes on. And how do I jump into this last mission that they go on? Because this is where the climax happens for them. So she's moved by the music. And she even almost tries to get him to kill Clara a couple times on the Dalek planet and everything. But, he forgives her for all this craziness that she does. And so they're going to this distress beacon that had been put out from a starship that was stuck in a black hole, which is crazy because it's the second time now black holes have come up for being a really important part of their story. And for me, symbolically, the things that I have experienced when it comes to black holes, the most important one, I just remember this dream that I had where this golden chain was put on a black hole. So it's like almost like, was there a fracture of myself that was stuck in this place and we got it out, and then this is who that is? Like, this is the part of me who that is? I don't know. I can only go on what my intuition feels like, right? And so they go to this, get back to the story, they go to this black hole where this ship is basically this long colony ship that is on its way to another planet. It gets stuck by the gravitational pull of the black hole. And so they arrive at the top level, And she's putting on a show. She's pretending to be the doctor. She's having a good time. She comes out and she says, oh, right. Yeah, I remember this part now. Okay, yeah. She basically, she says, I'm Doctor Who. Like, she doesn't even say, like, like she acts like Doctor Who was the name he chose. She tries to make fun of him and say that, tell Bill Potts, his companion, that Doctor Who was actually, so that, because people would be like, Doctor Who. And that's supposed to be the joke. That was the joke, supposedly, for him. And she ended up calling herself the Master, and that was supposedly a joke, too, between the two of them. And so she's figuring out what's going on with this ship and why are there so many life forms in this bottom level of the ship, because it's supposed to be an empty colony ship. It's going to go grab people. It's on its way. It has a mission, but it went from like 2 or 3 life forms to like over 1,000 life forms on the bottom level of this ship. And so they're trying to figure that out. And before they get a chance to do that, Bill Potts, the doctor's companion, she gets shot in the chest, completely puts a hole right in her. And so next thing you know it, there's an elevator that came from the bottom of the deck, bottom of the ships here, and it's coming up really, really, really fast. And the guy who was piloting the ship is terrified of whatever is going to come out of those elevators. And what comes out is these masked guys, basically, and they grab Bill and they take her. They're like, we're going to save her. We're like a hospital facility place, and it's on the lower level. So we're going to take her, and we're going to take her down to the lower level. Okay. And so they do. And they kind of start to split screen, show you what's going on for Bill as opposed to what's going on for Doctor and Missy and all them. Because as it turns out, the black hole's gravitational force causes a time issue. It's that the closer to the black hole you are, the slower time is going. So Bill, even though she was fixed up and she was waiting for the doctor to come down all those levels to get her, for Doctor and Missy and Nardole up on the top floor, time is going like a normal speed for them. But like I said, but Bill is watching the doctor and he's going very, very, very slowly. In fact, it takes him 10 years in the process of them taking a few minutes to figure out what's really going on with this ship. For Bill, it was a 10-year experience. And in the hospital she's in, everyone is dressed like these masked beings. They're in gauze from head to toe. And you can hear they have a voice box thing attached to a machine that allows you to hear what they're saying. And they're saying help, suffering, pain, pain, pain. And to the point where the nurses that are there, they just turn down the volume of it. They just don't even want to hear it anymore. And so at long last, after they figure out what's going on, okay, the reason why all these thousands of life forms showed up at the bottom of this ship instead of just a few is because of the time dilation issue going on here. And so they're like, well, we better get down there now because Bill has been down there now for quite a few years. So we need to go rescue her. And so they get into the elevator and they go down there and they separate. Okay. Like the doctor's going to go look for Bill and Missy's going to go look for more information on the ship. And so she's looking for more information on the ship. And she notices, oh, the ship is from Mondas. Okay. Now, Mondas is a very important planet in the Doctor Who universe because Mondas is where the Cybermen originate. Okay. And so she knows, oh my God, this is actually this whole place, this bottom deck is going to be filled with Cybermen, and they're going to try and they don't just kill you. Okay. That would be too easy. What they do is they take you and they use your body, they put it into this machine, and they force you to turn your emotions off, and then you just become a droid for their army, basically. Whatever it is that they want to do, take over. They're like think of like non-organic beings. They just want to go and they want to conquer the organic beings, right? And so this is their way of trying to do that. And so she's like, I'm going to go tell the doctor right now. And there was think of him as like a male nurse or a different doctor. Okay, he's there. He calls himself Razor. And he's the one that has been keeping Bill Potts company all of these 10 years. And it just so happens that he is there to confront Missy. And he says to Missy, do you remember when you used to like to wear disguises? Do you remember when you used to like to wear different faces? Do you ever do that anymore? And she's like, listen here, guy, like, I need to go and tell the doctor something. I don't have time for your bullshit. I'm gonna have to take that little gun that you have. And do you have any idea who I am? I'll kill you. I'll just kill you, you know? And he says, I don't think you would. And he rips off his face, and it's the master. So they have found, so now there's two of them. Okay, we got Missy and the master. And he's like, hello, future me. He's like, I was getting a little bit worried watching you because I'm a little bit worried about my future now, considering I see that you be working with the doctor, and the doctor is our greatest enemy. So what is going on here? All right. And they pair up. They pair up and they become a team. And the doctor, he does end up finding Bill, you know, and the reason why Missy ends up pairing up with the master in this moment even is because the master tells her, like, he's never going to forgive you. He's never going to forgive you for what you did to his little friend. And she said, I didn't do anything to his little friend. He says, yes, you did. Yes, you did, because he's the one that did it. Okay, he's the one. He said, you guys took all that time up there and you missed Bill by 2 hours, because what he did was he had this thing called the Exodus program. And what the Exodus program was the genesis of the Mondasian Cybermen, the first Cybermen that ever existed. So they're explaining to you the backstory of how the Cybermen even came into being. And it was the master that created these Cybermen, and apparently, which was Missy's past self, okay, that created these Cybermen. And so she basically accepts and realizes, oh shit, like, he really, yeah, once he finds out that this happened to Bill and that I'm here, the master's here, like, he is definitely going to lose his shit. So the doctor finds Bill, and he doesn't recognize her at first because she's been turned into a Cyberman. And he's like, the Cyberman is coming out, and it's just saying, Bill Potts, I waited for you, doctor, you know. And that's, he said, oh wait, you're a Cyberman, you're connected to the hive mind. Can you help us locate Bill Potts? And that's when he puts two and two together and he realizes this is Bill. Okay. And so now the master's plan to finally, like, luck of the draw here, the doctor's already here now, and we got the upper hand. We got a Cybermen army. We don't really have to worry about him giving us any trouble. And so they're like, we're going to kill him, and we're going to get ourselves out of this black hole, and we're going to go conquer the universe. But the doctor is smarter than that, okay, because he's Sherlock Holmes, basically, and he changes the systems so that way the Cybermen are programmed to attack Time Lords, all humans and Time Lords. And so since now he's done this reprogramming of them, it's going to try and kill Missy and the Master too. So they have to start traveling up decks where the time is going faster. So as they get up to this upper deck, which is like a farm colony, and they manage to save a small handful of humans, and they bring them up there, and they're trying to basically just protect these humans, to find a way to escape with them, or to at least give them a few more little bit of lifetime that they have left. The thing about the time dilation, though, is that this allows the Cybermen to have all of the time that they need to work out a plan to build more of them, to work out a plan on how to get to the doctor and the other Time Lords and to kill them faster. So they're really like living on shortened time here. In fact, this is the last episode before Peter Capaldi changed into the next Doctor. This was what ended up killing Peter Capaldi's character, which I was so mad about because he is my favorite Doctor. And so they're living there. They're living in this farm layer, but you can tell it's not a real land because they're in the sky. There's a number on the sky, so it tells you what level of the ship you're on, and there's like 1,000 levels to this ship. And so now it's come time to where the Cybermen are coming, and they know they're coming, and they only have a few moments left. They have to basically keep these Cybermen off. There's one escape pod that they can get to, and so they're going to try and get the humans to this one escape route that they have. Okay, but Missy and the Master end up taking it over. They're like, they found a way to get to it faster, basically. Okay, and so the Doctor tries to stop them, and he begs them. He says, please don't leave. We're best friends here. Like, I just help me save these humans. I don't do it because it's, the only thing to do. We don't do it because it's right or wrong. We do it because it's the decent thing to do, even though we're not going to get a reward from it, even though we might still end up dying, even though we all might die from this. Eventually, we're all going to die anyway. We're all going to fall. And so he begs them, please, puts on this huge speech. Like, this is where I stand, and this is where I fall. And I ask you to stand with me. And the master, he basically looks at him and he said, did you see this face? This is the face of someone who didn't hear a single word you just said. And absolutely not will I stand with the doctor, because no, like, that's not what I do. I'm going to go do whatever I want to do. I'm going to leave you here to die. And so he turns to Missy and he says, Missy, please, like, I know you've changed. I've seen you change. Please stand with us and fight. Help us get these humans out. Help us save this little bit of life, just because it's the right thing to do. Because it's the kind thing to do. Because that's the doctor's motto, is to always show kindness where possible. Even though he's a sarcastic guy. And I absolutely love his sarcasm. Like, that's part of what made him so funny. But he really has a caring heart. And that's another reason why I love this doctor. And Missy says, I'm sorry, but no. I'm not going to stand with you. And her and the master turn around and they walk away. But the thing is that Missy just wanted to get the master away from him, because she had another plan. Because at this point, she had chosen. She was going to stand with the doctor now. She was reformed bad girl. And she was going to stand with the doctor now. And so they get to the escape pod, her and the master. And she basically says, because here's the thing, she wasn't able to remember how she regenerated into this form for the entire part. She wasn't able to remember turning into Missy. She's like, how did I end up going from the master, this guy, to this? And then it hits her and she realizes it's because she's going to kill him here now. And so she kills the master. She kills him. But not permanently, because Time Lords regenerate. And this is the moment that he's going to regenerate into her. This is where he's going to regenerate. And apparently, after he does regenerate into Missy, the first thing he does is he goes back to this club on Earth called the Scoundrels Club, which is where all of his lifetimes, every time he regenerates, he goes back to this club. But unfortunately, they don't allow women in the club. So since they don't allow women in the club, Missy kills all of them. Okay, that's just a little detail that I thought was interesting. So Missy kills the master, and he's like, wow, so now I'm going to be like regenerating into you now. That's where the fate that I'm headed towards. And she says, welcome to the sisterhood. She turns around and he starts screaming, Missy, no, like, I will never stand with the doctor. Never. And she says, but that's just the thing, dear. Yes, you will, because I'm going to. And before she gets a chance to go back to the doctor and tell him that actually she chose him and she chose to stand with him, the master kills her and shoots her in the back. And they both laugh about it. And they were like, this is the perfect ending for us. Like, of course, we would shoot ourselves in the back, like, because of the kind of person they had been. And this is officially where the master was supposed to end permanently. But the story has to keep going. But I don't honestly, I pretty much don't count anything on from the woman Doctor Who. I didn't even watch it past that, because they went all woke. They took away from the actual. They just went too crazy. They did this whole timeless child thing where, like, the regeneration power supposedly always originally came from just the doctor, but, like, that doesn't even make sense. Like, they were, like, harnessing it from him, but it doesn't make any sense. The master comes back in this new form, and now he's just completely a hateful person, and, like, it doesn't make any sense. So for me, this is where Missy ended. And the sad thing about it is that she never even got to tell him. Like, that she chose him. He had to die not knowing that information. And so I just thought, here's another little funny thing about the master. his favorite weapon of choice was throughout the generations where he was a male. His favorite weapon of choice was called a tissue decompressionizer. Okay, and the tissue decompressionizer would basically shrink people into little tiny humans, and he could just do whatever he wanted with them. Now, I thought this was kind of funny, considering they told me to look at this character, right? Because there was a time I actually told someone. I remember telling them, I was like, I don't know why. I was like, but for some reason, I was like, I want to shrink you down into a little person I can put right in my hand, and I can just hold it up to the world and be like, look what I have found. Look what I have found. Look at this wonderful thing I have found. You know? So I was like, that's kind of weird. That's kind of interesting. And not only that, but I almost didn't even tell you guys. It's funny because this is why they got so mad at me when I didn't come out here and tell you what happened with the David Wilcock thing when he came to visit me, and then he was like, they were doing this face flipping thing, and I was like, what are you doing? I was like, why are you putting all these different faces on? It's because this is why. Because this is where we were going. This is always where we're going, you know? And so I take you back to the song, okay? Under Cover of Darkness. The entire divine orchestration of it all. All right? Like, the song says, so long, my friend and adversary. It also says, I won't just be a puppet on a string. Okay, I always wondered about that one too. I won't just be a puppet on a string. You know, and I thought maybe it had something to do with the fact that I was making these heart wishes that were possibly, I don't want to say interfering, but that were like changing people's timelines without having even asked them. You know what I'm saying? So I was like, is that what it's talking about? I'm not really sure. I won't just be a puppet on a string. Like, I didn't even think about it at that point in my life when, like, oh, you know what? That could look like, if I'm doing these things, like, it could look like that to someone from the outside, that I'm just like, you know, puppeting people, you know. And so that kind of stood out to me. I always had wondered about that. They also said in the song, everyone's singing the same song for 10 years, which I think it's kind of ironic because this is 10 years ago now. It's been 10 years almost since my soul braid walking experience. It's been 10 years since I figured out now, like it was 10 years ago, whatever, that I had that experiences that ended up killing my heart emotionally, you know? And so that is the next place we're going to go with all of this, is that I'm about to tell you some of what I uncovered and what it meant to me, you know? Because I just feel like I need to get it all out. I need to get it out. It's like things make sense to me now in a way they didn't before. Okay? And I'm going to have to take a hit of my vape real quick, so hold on. Yeah, because I'm a vapor, and I'm not smoking cigarettes still. I'm sorry, you're going to have to deal with my clouds. Don't worry, I didn't see them with nanotechnology or anything, so I'm not going to bring out any Cybermen and give you an army or anything like that. I'm not going to do all that. I think that's something that's already happened, you know. So let's talk about my best friends. Not the ones I have now, but the best friends that I had from my 20s. Okay, I just want to tell you a little bit about them and the patterns that I noticed, because what really sticks out to me now too is the character of Rumi from Demon Slayers. Is it? No, hold on. K-pop Demon Hunters. Okay, when she talked about the patterns, she didn't want people to see the patterns, and that was what she was ashamed of, and that's what she was hiding. And for me, I couldn't even access these memories until I did that QHHT session, and then suddenly it was like, boom! It was like, oh my God, I hadn't even stopped to look at that and to take those puzzle pieces and to put them where they go now and how they come into play now. So let's talk about my best friends a little bit. In my 20s, before I had, hair, before I entered the dark times of my life and went down the road of drug addiction and everything, and I was married to my first husband, I became a doula before I became a midwife. I also took hypnobirthing training. Okay, so I learned how to use hypnosis for women in pain, during childbirth for pain. Which that is another interesting synchronicity. The music is back for me, guys. The music is back. The synchronicities with the music has been playing again, and thank God, because like I told you guys last week, I don't feel connected to God unless there is music playing for me. Some song that comes through that just moves me, because that's something the doctor taught me, right? He shared music with me, and it moved me, and now God speaks to me through music. And so there's a song I've been listening to by Muse called Newborn. And I've been really nervous about coming out here and sharing all of this stuff. I've been really nervous about even coming out here and talking about the Master and Missy and that whole character arc. And in this song, The Newborn, it says, stretch it like a birth squeeze. You know what I'm saying? And that's what it feels like. It feels like I'm in the middle of a transformation and a regeneration into this new character, because now I know myself better. It's like I've expanded. And I can see who I am and where I've come from better because I have these memories that I unlocked. And it just so happens that I was praying, right? And my girlfriend Joanna, she said, you have to look at it like it's a contraction, like it's a birth squeeze. And I was like, get out of here that you just said those words, because that's the song that I'm listening to right now, and that's what it's saying. In fact, when I went to go send her the song, I screenshot it. And it literally, that was the one lyric that it had on the cover of the video that was, you could click to play the song. It said, stretch it like a birth squeeze. So I'm like, okay, that's what I'm going to do. Sorry. I try not to touch my face when I'm talking, right? Because supposedly that signs that you're hiding something or whatever. But I just had an itch. So let's get back into it. So my best friends in my 20s, I was a doula. I was married to my first husband. And because I was a part of this volunteer doula program, they would send you clients. And I had this couple come to me, and their names were Scott and Stephanie. And I really liked them. I thought they were really cool. They were one of the first clients that I had when it came to being allowed to use my hypnobirthing training. And I was there for the birth of their second son. Well, it just so happened they lived really, really close to me. Like, I'm talking 5-minute drive from where I live, 10 minutes most. And so I started hanging out with them. And I started getting closer to them. And I even inspired Stephanie to become a doula. Eventually, she even wanted to become a midwife. And she did. She ended up apprenticing in the practice that I wanted to apprentice with, because I did not like the midwife that I worked with. And I went there to the interview, and I mentioned something about Charlotte, her being crazy, and how everyone in the community knows that she's crazy. And they basically shut me down right there and let me know, like, I wasn't going to get the apprenticeship because I said something about Charlotte. Like, they were real uppity. They were like, like woke vegan types. Okay, so like, oh no, we're better than that. Like, you said that about Charlotte, even though we all know it's true, but whatever. And so because they did that, I'm the one that got her the job. I said, okay, well, listen, because there are hundreds of women that want to become a midwife, that it's like very closed, small circle. And so I suggested that they allow Stephanie to become the apprentice, and they did, right? And so we would hang out a lot. I eventually, they had to watch me go through the tumultuous ending of my first marriage. And I had moved to Florida and had apprenticed as a midwife, and I'd come back and I was working as a midwife there. And Stephanie got pregnant again because she basically had like 3 kids back to back almost. So I was going to be her midwife. And it just so happens I ended up being pregnant at the same time. When I was pregnant when she gave birth to her third one. And I was the one that got to touch and catch her third child, I loved them. I loved Scott and Stephanie so much. I shared everything with them. I got a windfall of money once, and I took a large portion of it, even for me, by my standards, large portion, and to them too, because they were so blown away that I would even be willing to share this money with them. And I remember, like, our kids were close, we were close. And over the years, things started getting really hard for me, and I turned to drugs, and they were into drugs too. And in fact, Scott used to get Adderall. Basically, he was prescribed it. And I never really liked Adderall at that time, so I just, like, he never really offered it, but occasionally did, but I never really tried it until I got into far, far into my drug addiction. And so, as I was going through this relationship with my son Joshua and my daughter Sarah's father, they were there for it, and they were all I had. They were the only friends I had. I was very, very close to them, and I was very on again, off again with this boyfriend. And eventually, Scott and Stephanie opened up their relationship. They decided they wanted to start dating other people. I don't even remember the reason. Like, I only remember some of it. Like, there's so much that is still missing, but there's a lot of, like, the important parts, I feel like they've come back. And so they opened up their relationship. I was still in my relationship at that time, though. So, I mean, I didn't even think a second thought of it. I never even looked at him like that. You know what I'm saying? I never looked at either one of them that way. And then I was visiting them out in their new house that they lived in Ann Arbor. And Stephanie, she was staying home with the kids because she was putting them all to sleep. And Scott wanted to go out and look at the stars because he likes to look at the stars, like fascinated with looking at the sky. And so she was like, you guys just go ahead and go look at the stars, whatever. Like, there might be meteors or some, I think it was the time of year where it's like there's that meteor shower stuff that happens. And so he was hoping that we can go see some of that. And so we went to go watch these meteors. And I just remember, like, we were getting ready to smoke weed, and there was this moment where he needed the lighter, and I went to go hand him the lighter, and he took the lighter from my hand. And when he did that, there was something different about the energy. And he had taken it to a new place. And like I said, this was not ever a thought in my mind at this point up until now. But I was in really, really dire straits when it came to my emotions and making really bad choices and choosing to stay in an abusive relationship and being treated terribly. And so he basically went about asking Stephanie if he could date me, since she was already dating someone else. If they could bring me into the relationship. Okay. And since I wasn't with my boyfriend at the time, I was like, okay, like, sure. And we never, like, even when we went out on these dates, see, that's part of the rules they had. They had to tell each other everything that happened or whatever. And, like, they had to, like, get permission if they were going to take it to a physical place and whatnot. And so we would go on dates, you know what I'm saying? And me and Stephanie, we would still go out. We went to the movies and stuff like that. Like, it wasn't a very big deal. It didn't seem like it at the time. But the thing that I really wanted, was just for it to work out with Joshua's dad. Like, I loved that man. I was in love with him, but he just could not get over, and I don't blame him at this point, like, he could not get over how me and him had met, which was when I was still first married. Okay, like, and it didn't matter. It didn't matter that the only reason I got divorced was because I had found God, and I was able to look back at all of these actions I was taking that were completely, totally selfish and wrong. And I was able to take accountability for them. I came back and I opened up. I, like, took responsibility for it, and I turned over a new leaf because I had found God. I had found Jesus, and I never wanted to be in that position again where I was hiding things, where I was lying, where I was covering up things. And I thought that would naturally be seen. I thought that would be felt. Like, that's the naive part of me in there. That's the Clara part of me. Clara is a very naive character for sure. So I thought it would be seen, it would be felt, but it wasn't. And because of that, my boyfriend, on again, off again boyfriend at the time, he basically wouldn't commit and fully step up to being a partner. He was basically like, the second he didn't feel like being there anymore, he was gone. I would have to only wait for him to come over whenever he felt like coming over. It would be like sometimes 1, 2 in the morning, and then we would spend whatever time together we had, a few hours, and then I'd have to wake up to take the kids to school. And you can imagine after some time, that this like lack of sleep is going to break a person down, on top of the fact that we didn't have cell phones at the time. So if I ever wanted to get a hold of them, if I was upset about anything, if I was ever upset about anything and hurt about anything, and I tried to talk to him about it, well, he would just hang up on me and just wouldn't answer his phone, and there was no way for me to get a hold of him. And so this is where my issues with phone calls came in, because every time the phone would ring, it was like a reminder of that pain that I was always in. Similar to what I talked about about taking my kids to the movies, and it kind of ruined movies for me for a while, because the only time I ever was able to do that was when I was trying to distract myself from being heartbroken over the abusive relationship that I was in, and that's what I would do. And so then movies got associated with that. So anyway, back to the point of all of this, though. So it got to the point where I had been dating Scott. Stephanie was dating other people. We were all still best friends. I was just in such a desperate place. I was in such a desperate place to feel connected and loved and safe. And one night, and I don't even know who brought it up or how it got brought up, but we all decided we were going to be together in that way. And I remember okay. See, okay, I'm going to do it. I just remember this moment in my kitchen where Stephanie held me. She put her arms around me and she said, "I promise I won't let this change anything between us." I said, okay. We were drinking at the time. We were drunk. I barely even remember most of the night after that. And then I didn't hear from them again. They completely vanished. Couldn't get a hold of them for years. And for years, I just suffered alone now, because now I had no friends, because I walked through that door, right? And even though she had made this promise to me, but I blamed myself. You know what I'm saying? I didn't hold them responsible for any of it. I held myself responsible for all of it. Like, I'm the one that brought this on myself. Even though they completely ghosted me for 2 years or something like that. But I always still thought about them, because they were my best friends and I loved them and we've grown so close. I remember I couldn't even, Twilight, the movie Twilight, right? I couldn't even watch it because the main actress reminded me of her and it hurt too bad. So I couldn't watch it. And eventually they came back around. I forget who got a hold of me first, but one of them got a hold of me. Only they weren't together anymore. It had been 2 years, and apparently she had left him like a thief in the night. She basically she didn't even tell him she was going to leave him. She basically did all this work behind his back and managed to rent the house across the street from his mom's house, which is where they were living with their 3 kids. And so now I was like, oh my God, they're back, but now they're not together. So now it's kind of weird, because it's how do I be friends with both of them? Because they didn't really get along. They didn't really like each other anymore. And Stephanie, she was with this new guy, and this guy was a complete nihilist. And he was a writer, and he was absolutely horrible. And I loved her kids. I was literally there for the birth of 2 of them. She was my doula for my son Joshua's birth, even. And she was this guy that she had in her life was exposing them to things they shouldn't be exposed to as kids, like pornography and things. He would watch it while they were just home, doing. I remember he wrote this book, and apparently in the book he wrote this chapter about how he had taken basically Asher on some bike ride and just did whatever. And Asher was crying super bad. And he didn't care. Like the way he wrote about it in his book was just absolutely horrible. And so, whose side do you think I'm going to stand on when it comes to this? You know, like I care about the kids. In fact, that was the reason that I liked him specifically, especially, was because he really wanted to be a father. He liked being a father. And it seemed like that was the exact opposite of what I had with my Joshua's dad, like with my on again, off again boyfriend. It was the exact opposite of what I had. I had basically purely sexual relationship with him, and with Scott, I had a relationship that ignited me mentally. You know, we could talk about anything. Nothing was off the table, and it was exhilarating, and it was fun, and it was a this back and forth. We could debate each other, and it was wonderful. And so when this all went down, she basically didn't want to be friends with me if I was going to be friends with him. And I was looking at her and what she's doing with her kids, and I'm looking at him and how he's trying to protect his kids and raise his kids. And I'm like, you know what? I'm going to choose him. And because they had already opened that door before for me to walk through, well, it was easier to walk through. In fact, this time I thought to myself, like, like a rescuer, like it's going to save me from this other abusive relationship I'm in, right? Like, yeah, I mean, at this point, I've been through so much trauma. Like, the sexual part of me, I will say this, was like very shamed and repressed. It's like, when you're in survival mode, it's like that's the last thing that's on your mind is to want to be doing that. So it's like me and him, we really didn't have a very strong sexual connection, even though we were dating each other, and we ended up being together, boyfriend and girlfriend. And I just was okay with that because I was so tired of feeling like I was being used and abused when it came to my sexuality with my other ex. So I was like, okay, whatever. And then eventually I got pregnant. I got pregnant with my son, Henry. And the tumultuous time started with him. In fact, she had told me some things about him when they were together. And of course, it's like you don't know what it's really like unless you're in that relationship with them. Like unless you're in a relationship with a person like in that way to know, okay? And they would have been married. They would have been married and had to have gotten a divorce if it weren't for the fact that she had married someone else to help them get a green card when she was like 19. And because they couldn't find the guy that she had married so he could have the green card, she could never get divorced. Like her mom paid to have a lawyer try and hunt him down and everything. So she could never even get married. Like she legally still can't get married to this day because of the fact that she married this other guy to help him get his green card, and now she can't even find him. And so eventually I ended up losing everything. I had lost my friends, I had lost my house, I had lost my car, I had lost my career, I had lost my health at this point, and Scott was there for it all. He was there for it all, and he was putting me through the ringer at this point too. Because what once was like debate, like it's like the debates never ended. It never fucking ended. And I remember one time, like, for instance, I was pregnant with our son, Henry, which he wanted to get me pregnant. This is the thing. This is the craziest thing. So I know men sense when a woman is ovulating because literally I could count on my hands and my toes the number of times we were together physically in all of the 7 years that we were together as a couple. And 2 of those times I got pregnant. He left me when I got pregnant with my son, Henry. So it was like, where was the father figure that I thought I saw you be with Stephanie? Like, you fought so hard, it seemed like, and he still was fighting for his first 3 kids. But now here I am, I'm pregnant with your child. We're together. And you leave me, basically. You abandon me, but yet not really abandon me because he's still coming to my house every day. He's still spending every single day with me. Okay? Until eventually one day, all of the fights and all of this stuff, he was going to move in with me at my mom's house because I lost my house. So he was going to move in with my mom and my stepdad and our kids. And of course, he couldn't have that. He picked a fight with me, some stupid fight, and he ended up leaving. Well, then it ended up that me and my mom also were having it out because I was just the type of person I was at that point, which was like a drug addict who was a broken person and traumatized and been through all these things, part of which she had put me through. And so I moved out and I moved into the house that he was now living in, which was his father's house. And it was empty. It was just me, him, and our kids. And it was wonderful. And I got pregnant with our second son. So we decided then to get married. We were going to get married. Scott is my second ex-husband. He was my best friend. He was in a relationship they were my best friends. And I ended up with Scott. I married him. I had 2 kids with him. And it was even worse than Josh was dead. It was even worse. And I didn't even think it could get any worse than that, but it was. And eventually I ended up having to leave our house, our home, a couple days after I'd given birth to our son William, because he was a drug addict as well. And so he was taking drugs. This is why, I talked to you guys about my ex Braden and how he would take ketamine and then he would turn into this really mean person after ketamine. And it's because it like takes away like your empathy or something like that until you come off of it. And the same thing was true, especially, and I know now from my own drug abuse with Adderall, like it basically, it changes you after you, like if you take a lot of it and you stay up and then you stop it, it changes you. It makes you paranoid. And so every time he would get this stuff, I would be like, okay, we can take it, but you have to promise that you're not going to do something and pick some crazy, stupid fight with me that you're going to regret later on after you come off this Adderall. You're going to promise me that. And he would every time. And I wanted to believe it every time. Why was I so stupid? I believed it every time. Every fucking time. And so I moved back in with my mom. And I lived there for quite a few years. And he lived with his mom. And we had children together. And we saw each other every day. And we lived in these separate houses, even though we were married. And then one day, he gave me the news that his mom was going to move out of her house. And this would free up the house for him to have. And that's when he told me that he was going to move Stephanie back in with him. Because of their 3 children that they had had. He told this to me. And I begged and I pleaded and I cried and I screamed and I said, please don't do this to me. Like, I'm your wife. We have 2 kids together. I'm living with my ex-stepdad at this point in their old house. And now you're telling me you have a home available to where we could all live together and be a family. And you're going to move your ex in? I said, if you do this, I won't survive. I won't. I won't. And I didn't. Because he chose to do it anyway. He left and he chose to do it anyway. And he moved her in. And then I had to go on pretending like it was fine. He gaslit me into thinking there's no other choice I had. What else am I going to do? He's coming over to my house still every single day. And I just have to pretend like it's fine. And I was basically dead inside at that point. And I had no love left inside me. Whatever was left, that was gone. I was just a zombie. And so looking back at this, right, I even got a chance to confront him. I even got a chance to confront him. And I thought it was kind of crazy because synchronistically, okay, a song came through to me and it's called Show Me Where He Inserted the Blade. Okay, this is what the song is called. I'm showing you guys where he inserted the blade. This is where he inserted the blade and he killed me. And so finally I decided this week to confront him on it. I had some questions because I wanted to know, because not only did he put me through all this, but he DNA tested our son William as if there was some legitimate possibility when I'm literally living with him, there with him every single day, going through drug addiction with him, as if it was a possibility that I mean, I'm not even sleeping with you. Do you know how painful that is for a woman to have a man doubt her about this type of stuff? Like, we're married and you DNA tested our son behind our back. And we found out later on. Because that's why he had been distant from our son for the first 3 weeks of his life. Because Adderall makes you paranoid. He's paranoid. It was a very, very painful time. So I confronted him and I just said, I just want to know. I was like, considering what I know about people now and through having this new lens to look at things. I said, were you cheating on me? I said, was this projection? And he told me, he said, I only cheated on you the one time that I told you about. And I'm like, wait a second, the one time you told me about? Like, I don't even remember that. I don't even remember him telling me about that. But he swore that that was the only time that he did. And I said, and what about when you were living with Stephanie? And he like immediately answered back. He was like, no, never. He's like, we were not like that. He was like, I was very uninvolved. I said, you moved in with her when you were married with 2 kids with me. That's not involved with her. That's not involved. And so I just told him straight up, I said, I've only recently unlocked these memories. And I said, and the crazy thing is that Cassandra remembers liking you. Like, I look at these labels that she puts on you, like best friend and, fun to talk to, fun to be on. Like, she puts all these labels in these memories that I have. I'm like, but when I'm thinking to myself, but when I'm around you now, like, I don't sense any of that. I don't feel anything like that towards you. In fact, I can literally just feel fear coming off of him, like oozing off of him, and it's like repulsive to me. I can tell and hear in his voice that he has no idea who I really even am. I don't know if he ever really did see who I really am. And so I just said to him, I said, just looking back at all these things now, I'm just thinking to myself, like, I held myself responsible for all that. But really, was I the only one responsible for all that? I said, if you hadn't opened that door, I said, you wanted that. I said, but that never should have been an option. We were best friends. You never should have had opened that door for me to walk through. I said, and because you opened that door for me to walk through when you guys abandoned me after promising not to, after she promised me not to, because now I'm like, wait a second, she made promises to me too. And I can only imagine how he spun it now outside, because I know how he spins things from our marriage, that basically he would use me as a scapegoat to blame all the things that people were confronting him about, like his mom, like, why aren't you doing this? Why aren't you doing that? And it was like, oh, because, Cassandra. And it was like, so I can only imagine how he spun it in a way, like the things that they had going on in regards to what had happened between us. But so I just said to him, I said, like, looking back at that now and seeing it differently, and seeing that I never should have walked through that door that you opened, and then I ended up paying the ultimate price. I said, do you ever do that? I said, because I regret that. I said, that's probably the biggest regrets of my life, is those decisions. I said, do you ever stop and think, oh, you know what? Maybe I shouldn't have done that. No, you always justify it. That's the thing. He's always justified him moving in with his ex again, moving her into the house because of his other 3 kids. Like, completely disregarding our marriage and the 2 kids that we had. And he's like, that. Wow, you are giving me something to think about, I said, because I honestly do not know how you did it. I do not know how you were able to watch me beg, plead, scream, and cry and tell you I would not survive, and yet you still took the action. And you don't even seem sorry for it. You don't even seem like you regret it at all. And I'm just wondering, now that we're here in the future, like, do you regret that? So, I mean, it's not like I'm not familiar with my shadow at this point. I'm not always doing things because I've not always done things because it was considerate of everyone else. Like some things I did out of desperation, some things I did out of just not wanting to feel alone in the world. And that was the one good thing, compliment that he did give me. He said that I said, we were best friends. I said, what would make you think that it was okay to take it to that place? And he said, yeah, honestly, I still have yet to find anyone who brought the spark of God into my life like you did and who made me feel like I wasn't alone. And I was like, okay. I was like, well, that's very nice. But, best friends don't take actions against each other like that. I'm actually holding it together a lot better than I thought I was going to, guys. Okay, so thank you for bearing with me here this long. I'm about to be through this part of it, but let's proceed, right? Because then there's now and looking at the patterns now, right? We're looking at Rumi, K-pop demon hunters, like what's the pattern here? You know what I'm saying? Not only that, but thinking about my manifestations and everything that spirit has shared with me. Do I do this? Right? Do I talk about this part of it? I need to hit my vape one more time. So if you've been following me for some time, you know that my biggest and brightest and first heart wish, okay, was to basically take a piece of my consciousness and reincarnate back in time to be the perfect companion for someone whose story moved me and moved my heart and who I just had natural feelings for on their own, right? And so when I was making this heart wish, trust me, this is a good thing that I saw this, because part of what I'd asked them, this is what I was so afraid to look at. I was so afraid to look at this stuff. I was so afraid to look at the dark, okay, and see what was in there. And so that's what I've been seeing, like as a visual, I've been seeing like this tar pit. And in this tar pit, if I reach into this tar pit, I'm able to pull out these gems and I clean them off. And that's what I've been doing. I've just been taking and cleaning them off and going into that darkness. Okay. And so I went to that dark place and I looked at those past situations and experiences. So when I made this first original heart wish that I made, because I was moved, you know how when your body just knows the truth? Like for instance, when my heart got activated, when the one thing I had asked for at the Starseed Adventure Conference was for someone to tell me that we've lived hundreds of lives together and for it to be true. And then someone said it. The person they told me that was going to say it said it, and it hit me like a gong inside my body. Okay, well, when I heard this person's story, I was so moved, and I had just done the Course in Miracles, probably was still doing it even. I didn't even really know I could manifest like this yet. If I had stopped to think about it, I probably could have figured it out because I had already done a few manifestations before that, such as like manifesting Odin in the flesh. And the only reason I even did that one was because my ex-husband challenged me and told me that I couldn't. And I was like, oh yeah? I was like, watch this. It's going to be this, this, and this. 3 things. This is what's going to happen. And then you'll know that I'm capable of doing these things, because I had God in my life at one point, the spark of God. And over the years that dwindled and that fire got put out. Okay. And so, but occasionally it would get reignited by someone challenging me. Someone tells me I can't do something. It only makes me more capable of doing it. It's like that little bit of challenge. It makes it more possible. It opens up the belief of my mind in a way that makes it even more possible. So at this point in my life, when I just live in day to day, and I'd come across this guy and all these weird things started happening when I first saw him, and these like frequency waves came off of him, and my guides were like, follow him. And I was like, okay, follow him. And I heard his story, and I just felt they told me lean into that feeling a little bit. I've talked about this before. I'm just gonna briefly talk about it again because some of the patterns and things line up now that I couldn't bring up before, that I didn't bring up before, and I apologize for that because now I see that what I was doing by not sharing all of these details, which I didn't ever think or expect or want to share all of these types of details, honestly. But if I don't share them all, like, because what I was doing was I was trying to make it all look good. It's trying to make it look like, I made this heart wish and then it happened and I was happy. Like, yay. And it worked, yay. But that's not exactly how it played out for me. It's not exactly how it played out for me. How it played out for me was more like this. They told me to lean into the feeling a little bit because I was like, I heard, I don't know, I guess he needs help. Like, he needs someone. He clearly needs someone. Like, he's got such a beautiful soul. It just shines. He's a true diamond in the rough, this guy. Like, I don't know why, but I just want to run to him for some reason. It's completely illogical. I just want to run to him. I want to leave everything here behind it, and I just want to go and I want to help him. That's what I want to do. But I knew I couldn't do that. And so my guides were talking to me. And I'm just thinking I'm crazy at the time. I'm just thinking I'm just, having some internal dialogue with God. And so I started having all these thoughts. And I was like, well, if I could help him, how would I help him? Right? How would I help him? Because they told me, they said, well, the only way that can happen, because you can't run and leave right now. And this is the part where I hid. This is where I hid some of it. And I'm sorry. I apologize for not saying this part sooner. Because they told me that we were not compatible in life right now. But they told me that I could wait 20 years. And if I waited 20 years, then it could work out. But for me, at that point in time, just thinking, well, I'm just thinking. I'm just feeling, and I'm thinking, and I'm having these thoughts. And I said, 20 years? I was like, and leave him without someone for 20 years? I was like, are you kidding me? Like, he needs help now. Like, do you not feel what I'm, like, do you know how I'm feeling right now? Like, I love him. That's what it was. I didn't even realize that was the feeling I was feeling. It was love. Just want to help. Want to give love. So they told me I could wait for 20 years and that it could happen, or we could do something else. We could do something different. And that's when I came up with the idea. I got it. Since it's all about compatibility, and I have seen this in my own life, how it can work. I could look back on past relations, like, okay, this is where, like for instance, with me and Scott, okay, I thought we were compatible because of the love that we shared for children and the role of being a parent. I thought this would make us compatible. I thought the fact that we had this mental connection the way we did, that would make us compatible. And it didn't, actually. In fact, we weren't soulmates, we were wound mates. I've talked about this before. We were wound mates. We amplified the worst in each other. And that's why it got so bad. And so compatibility is a very important thing. So I said, okay, so this is what we'll do. Okay? We will, like I said, split my consciousness off a little bit. We will go into the astral. We'll plan out a whole nother lifetime. But obviously that means I'm going to have to know my death so we can take the astrological death chart. I know, I was very elaborate about this. This is what makes it so fucking crazy for me, okay? This is why it was so insane that I can think all of these things and then to see results from it, just like I manifested the exact houses I wanted, right? I've manifested relationships. I've manifested experiences I wanted to have at these different events. Right? I did not realize that I even had this ability that much if it weren't for this original one that I was doing, right? So I'm like, okay, what we're going to do is we're going to manifest myself. We're going to take my death chart and we're going to find a willing parents because I already had the conditions that I had on it, like what I was going to have for confirmations, right? They had told me, they had given me some hints of what his mission needed. So I was like, okay, we're going to do so what if, for me to know that it happened, she's going to look like this, there's going to be this sign between them, and there's going to be this sign too. There's going to be these three things. And then I even added a little bit of a fourth one, but it was like, I don't know if I'll be able to really know that one for sure, but I was able to know that one for sure because I'm an empath and I could feel I could feel them when I was around them. It was true love, right? And so I say all these things, and I thought about it for a couple of days, kept feeling that way. I went to sleep. Thank you, God, for allowing me to have such beautiful thoughts. And then next thing I know it, a woman starts getting mentioned. Oh, there's a woman involved in this already in his life. And I told you guys this before. I said to myself, holy shit, is she there already? Like, as a joke, I'm thinking to myself, oh, this is hilarious. You know what I'm saying? Like, oh, maybe it already worked, right? Maybe. And then there came this moment, and this is a moment that I've never shared with anyone, that I never thought I would share with anyone. Because this was the realness of it. This is the dark part of it that I was trying to hide. I just didn't want people to think or feel bad for me. Okay? I wanted it to be a beautiful story without any pain and heartache and suffering, because I wanted to see him happy. That was the underlying drive of why I was doing this, because I just wanted to see him happy. For some reason, every part of me just wanted to see him happy and loved. That's it. And so it came time, and we were all hanging out. We were doing an online thing, right? And so I just said to God, like, bring her out on camera. There's really a woman there, and if it really worked, there's that possibility. You know, like, bring her out. Oh, there's one other part that I forgot to mention. Because I told you this before. They told me it was going to be hard. They said, if we do this, it'll be hard for you. And at the time, I was in such a loving place that I was just like, hard? Why would it be hard? It's love. Like, I'm wishing and praying for a loving thing. Like, why would that be hard? Because I didn't know how deep the feelings went. I didn't know there was this past lifetime connection. I didn't know about genetic equals and all of that type of stuff. I didn't know any of that. Okay, so they're like, it's going to be hard. I said, okay, well, if it's hard, this is what we'll do. I said, we will put a barrier in place. Because I was like, to prevent me from ever doing anything that would interfere with that. Because you're saying that it's going to be hard for me. And I can see there's some feelings here. You know what I'm saying? So, but we'll put a barrier in place to make sure and prevent that we never contradict the prayer request that we're asking for. Yes, I did. I said it, the barrier. Okay, because the barrier comes into play. All right, the barrier is going to come into play. So, but back to what I was talking about. So I asked God. I said, because I said, if I really do this, she's going to look like this. She's going to look like this specific type of character, but with curly hair. I said, she's going to look like this. So I said, God, if it really happened, if she's there, like, bring her out and let me see her so I could know. And that will be my, like, the first confirmation would be seeing what she looked like. And I just remember being in my room and I saw her. And quite honestly, it was one of the most painful things I ever witnessed. You know, I shut the door. And I couldn't scream because I didn't want my kids to be alarmed. But I remember just going into myself and just screaming silently as loud as I could, because I didn't think that would really happen. And if that really happened, then everything they told me was real. And if everything that they told me was true and real, then what did I just do? What did I just do? If this is true and this is real. And I remember I was just in shock, and I was sad because I knew what I just sacrificed. You understand? Like, if this was real, I knew at that moment what I'd really sacrificed, and it did hurt, and it was hard. And I was just like, oh my God. This is part of why, from that point on, I went about trying to run these experiments. to see if it was true, to see if it really happened, to prove to myself either that it did or that it didn't. One of those, you know what I'm saying? Like, is this real? Like, every single manifestation I did from that point on, almost, there was always this underlying link that my guides have been able to show me, that was to prove to myself that that first one happened. Okay. And now I have the confirmations. And now I have done all the experiments. And now I have run all of those things. And again, I don't want people to feel bad for me about it, because it's like, that's what happens when you try to share with people this stuff. You know what I'm saying? That's what happens. And then they're empaths and they feel my feelings towards them, and of course normal humans are going to be like, well, you're going to want what any normal human wants. You're going to want to go and you're going to be with them. You probably wish that she wasn't there so that you could be with them, right? Like, I've literally had people say that to me, and I literally shut them down on the spot. And I'm like, don't assume to know what I want. And sometimes I correct people. Sometimes I just didn't bother. You know what I'm saying? Because it's like, again, when people make assumptions, they show you something about themselves too. So it was sad to me in a way, because people couldn't see the purity of my intention. And I was very naive, and I wanted to only make the best of it. I was like, well, like, as much as that pain that I just went through, and recognizing that what they were telling me was possibly true, and then eventually realizing, like, everything they've told me has been true, like everything they've said has happened, everything at this point. But what about that barrier, right? What about that barrier? I didn't understand. Okay, well, how does that barrier work then? Because I don't know how to explain it to people so that people trust me and understand that that's not my goal. That's not my aim. That my goal has always been to make the best of this situation. Now it's one fucking lifetime, and I will find a partner. It will not be, it's finding a person to be a willing partner is not the hard part. It's finding someone that I actually have a connection with, that will be a sustainable connection. That seems to be the hard part, because I think people fit together like puzzle pieces, and the more experiences you have and the more you evolve yourself, the harder the more you chisel your puzzle piece into where you can only fit with certain people, right? And so uncovering these memories was so important, because it showed me the barrier. Because this vessel, right, if this lifetime in squaring the circle in the alchemical marriage of merging two opposites, okay, if expressing myself through this vessel is what it's all about, well, this vessel comes with programming. She comes with, like, think about it like this, like a person who's been to war, right? When they come back, fireworks might bother them because they have trauma from it, right? So they can't really, like, hearing loud fireworks might remind them of the battlefield, and they'll go into like a trauma response, right? And so that was when I realized, because I had already tried to tap into the timeline before to explain it to them, to explain to all people, right? Like, no, I tapped in that time, and I looked to see if that is, because all timelines exist. I looked to see if that's the timeline where I was headed, and it felt terrible, right? I was like, oh no, you know what I'm saying? And that's because it was the energetic feeling of what I had already experienced with my best friends in my 20s, who ended up being my second ex-husband, right? This person would never do something like that again. I know the cost. I know what move. I know what road that leads down. In fact, that brings me to this dream that I had, that I wanted to talk about. I had this dream in my 20s after I had done this 40-day meditation program, and God had come to me and showed me himself as a tree, and had given me these lessons. Well, there was another lesson that they gave me in this dream. And in this dream, I was walking along this dirt path, and there were these trees on either side of me, and there were other people walking down the path. And I got to this point in the road where it went up like a slope, okay? And so it was like pretty high. It kind of scared me. So I saw this other road over here. There was this couple standing there. They were just looking at each other and they were holding hands. And I went over to this couple and I looked at both of them and they just come back from the road. I could tell. And I said to them, I was like, what's wrong with this road? I don't see anything wrong with this road. And I ripped their hands apart and I went through them and I went down this road. Now this road was like, okay, so there's this slope and there was a path you could take up here. And then off to the side, underneath it over here, basically the low road, this is the road that I chose to take. And so I went down this low road and it led me to a dump, a garbage dump. I remember there being tires and tar and all sorts of stuff that was just garbage. And I was like, oh shit. Like, and the road ended at this dump. And so I walked back. I was like, oh, I guess this is why the couple had just come back from this. You know, they weren't going to go down this way. And so I decided, okay, well, I'll go up that slope and I'll go on that higher road. You know, and so I walked up the slope and there was a bridge. And the bridge had a bunch of planks, but there were missing planks every so place. And it was rickety and the rope was a little bit damaged. And I was too scared to go on that road. I realized that road wasn't the right road to take either because the high road is just as dangerous as the low road, just in a different way. And so I'm like, oh, I don't even know where to go now. And that was when I noticed there was a secret road. There was a hidden road that was in between both of them. It was the middle road. And there were people on this middle road, and it was much more beautiful. It actually reminded me of, like, you know how Japanese people try to create paths that look like natural paths, right? But there was still a bridge, but it was like built around the trees and the wildlife. And there were people, and they were just stopping, and they were looking at things. And I swear I even saw the Buddha there. I swear. And of course I would have, because I was studying the Buddha at the time, and the Buddha is all about the middle way. You know? So I realized then, okay, it's the middle way. You don't do the low road, you don't do the high road, you have to do the middle way. Okay? And so to bring it back to conclusion, I'm going to take a hit of my vape again. Sorry that my camera's all around. We're going to get to the tarot card pulls in a second. I'm sorry if you've been waiting here for the tarot card pulls and you're having to sit here and watch me pour all these fucking cups, because I pulled the 9 of Cups about this stuff. So it's all coming out. It's all coming out, right? I've been crying. I'm amazed that I haven't actually started crying. You know what I'm saying? So hats off to me on that one. So anyway, it was me realizing this, that the barrier was me becoming best friends with them. That barrier, because of my past experience, would never allow me to cross that again, because I know the road that it leads down, and I know the eventual ending of it. And I was so afraid to look at it, because I thought, what if people are right? What if there is some hidden intention inside me that I'm just not aware of, that other people are sensing that I don't sense? And this is why you have to do this digging, and you have to know yourself, because now I know myself on a deeper level, and I know, and I can say with all my heart, that they maintained the purity of that original manifestation in this way by becoming best friends with me. The barrier was becoming best friends. I couldn't believe it. I was like, it was so perfect. It was completely divinely orchestrated. It was under the cover of darkness. It was so long, my friend, an adversary. It was Missy, the master. It's almost like Missy is the combination of Clara and River Song and the master. Like, it's like past lives, different lives, and we're all merging into one. And I think I told you guys this too. Like, I feel like I merged with the Cassandra. Let's put it a weird way. The Cassandra that was here before my soul brain walking came. Like, we merged. I've unlocked her memories now. I can help her better now. I trusted my guides to help me heal. I trusted God to help me heal, and they did. They brought me to this place, and it's almost like when you have an infection, a really bad infection, and it gets full of like, pus and stuff like that. I know this is gross, but this is the only way I can relate to it at this point. It's like I finally found where that infection was and I popped it, and now the pus is all drained out. And it was like, and I'm sorry, but some people got the brunt of that because I literally went into full rage mode, and I definitely let some people have it when it came to my past experiences and even little things that have happened recently. And now I know who I am. Now I know who I am deeper. And I'm sorry I've been ignoring the comment section. I really apologize. I'm really grateful that everyone has stayed this long. Okay, thank you. Hello there. I am having an okay day. I have probably been in the biggest depression of my life in years. Like the pain, the suffering never ends, but I still endure. But it's because it's the pain that I didn't feel for all those years because I went numb, because I was killed emotionally from the choices that I made and the choices that were made around me. Sorry to get all heavy on you, but that's where I'm at with it. Oh, thank you, Joanne. I appreciate you letting me know that. All right, well, now that I got the hard stuff out of the way and I made it through without crying, I'm proud of myself. And I really hope that this doesn't change anything. Me having opened up so vulnerably and so deeply here. But let's pull tarot cards and let's pull a fortune cookie, and then I'm going to head on out because I've been really taking up a lot of people's time today. And I just want to say thank you to everyone. BL Crispy showed up. That's so great. Oh, wow. Patrick even showed up. Oh, Tennessee Bigfoot. Oh, wow. What are all these people? I didn't even realize you guys were all here. Okay, well, I put it all out there now. It is all out. I've poured out every cup. Every cup. Okay, and I made the best of it. Let's see what God has to say for us. This is the one. Then we're going to pull the tarot cards. If there's any questions or comments you have, which I can't imagine a question or like that can come from all of that, but what does the collective need to hear? Oh my God, don't even tell me. It happened. The first time in this bag. No fortune. I don't like that. Oh, you know what? Okay, I'm gonna do it again. What do we need to hear? Okay, here we go. Guys, looks like we got no fortune today, the first pull, so I hope that's not a bad sign. If there's no fortune in this one, then I'm just going to stop, but I'm really praying. Because I was really scared to say all that, but so what good can come out of this? Let's find out. Okay. Love is the way to a contented mind. Love is the way to a contented mind. Yeah. No. Okay. I like that. Okay. Okay. So let's get out the tarot cards. And let's pull the tarot. And let's do this. Okay, what does the collective need to hear? What does the and thanks to any new person that is here, by the way. If you're not subscribed to my channel, please consider it. I don't always get this heavy, I promise. It's just that this is what I've been going through, and considering it's a Mercury retrograde right now in Cancer, like it makes sense that I would be going through some very heavy and deep emotions. But I just felt like it wouldn't make sense if I didn't tell all of it. It didn't make sense to me even until I looked at all of it. Okay, here we go. I won't do tons of shuffles, just a little bit, I promise. My friend Crispini kind of gave me shit about it. I think he's driving right now, though, so he can't really be texting. All right, hold on. I'm going to say a quick prayer. Let this reach anyone who needs to hear it now and in the future. Let them be able to relate to it in whatever way that they are meant to. I pray, God, that you work through me, that you allow me to be a vessel in service to you. Now and in the future and forever, God, I'll be in service to you. Please assist me in pulling these cards from people who are here now. What is it that we need to hear? Okay. I do feel emptier. That's good. Okay, ready? No, stop. Okay. They're like already getting ready to say some stuff to me, and I'm like, just let me pull the cards first, please. Right here. No. Oh my God, they're really on it already. Stop. Okay, here we go. What cards do we need to pull? Ready? 1, 2, and 3. Oh, interesting. Okay. Look like 1, 2, and 3. Nice. Okay. This last part of the message for the collective. What is the collective here? 1, 2, and 3. Whoop. Okay. Wow. Okay. Itchy sunburn. All right, we're back. We're back into reality. We're no longer jumping and changing timelines anymore. And we're going to tell you a little bit about your current timeline. Because that's the thing I've learned about myself. Is that I am able to sense and do things with time. I like the ideal of being regenerated now into a Time Lord character because I am so good at looking at timelines, looking into the future, feeling into the energy of certain things. Like I told you guys, I'm able to feel at least a month out, if not farther. Even with all the different variations of different time, like I am able to do that. That I don't know if that's part of being, because I told you before, they told me I'm a diamond Melchizedek diamond. So I'm wondering if the Melchizedek line has something to do with timeline management of some sort and creation and manifestation, like instant manifestation abilities or something. Like I'm not really sure, but I feel it. I feel that way. It feels like that's the thing, I'm having prophetic dreams. All my dreams come true. Literally every single one of my dreams comes true. But let's see what's about to come true for you. So what we got here is the 9 of Pentacles. Okay, we got the 9 of Pentacles. So as you can see, this is a woman. She's very well kept, actually. She has all her physical needs met. I feel like for some of you out there, though, this could be like you being concerned about having all those physical needs met. It's like, what is the cost of maintaining all of this? What is the cost of maintaining the place that you live in, or the things that you are paying for and trying to afford? Okay, it's like it can be a very positive card though too, because it does mean that like you are comfortable, like you have the things that you need, you have the physical luxuries, you're able to, for me, like buy the DoorDash, you know what I'm saying? Like it's like, but what is the cost of it? So for me, is that I have to work extra hard, in order to be able to have that extra money, in order to be able to spend on those extra things. So just know that even though you might have all your physical needs met and you might be in a comfortable place, there is going to be a cost with it, because you can either look at it like it's it's because it's a responsibility. Okay, it's a responsibility. And that can be a little bit like a cage, you know what I'm saying? That when you own a bunch of items, you know, it's like you're beholden to those items. You're put in charge and care of those things. Those are your responsibility, okay? And so that's basically what this girl is, the 9 of Pentacles. Okay, so it's like, yes, now you're comfortable. Now you have all the things, all your needs met. Okay, and but just know that there is a price to pay when it comes to that type of stuff. Okay, so the next card we got, okay, is that we are shifting timelines. We are shifting timelines into a timeline of new emotions, new love, new hope. Okay, oh, that's right. I forgot about that. That is, and this is the purity of the type. If you're wanting to manifest crazy big things like I talk about all the time, I can tell you that one, because it's like, how do I explain to people how you get into that energetic mode to where you're able to request it in a way? It's almost like, okay, because the master, right? The master learned from the dark arts how to manipulate timelines without any negative consequences. That's what he learned, right? Okay, so it's like, how do I explain that to people? How to get into that energetic, like, because I know there are a lot of people. Oh gosh, yeah, I remember now. I remember some of the stuff that I was saying to myself at the beginning of the week, how angry I was. You know, it's like, because I don't know how to explain to people like where I was at, but I thought it was put beautifully in the story of Missy, where in River Song, and their motto being without hope, without witness, without reward. That is the place that you have to know yourself well enough to know that when you're making this wish, when you're making this manifestation request, this prayer request, you can't be doing it from a place, it will have a negative outcome. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, if you're doing it from a place where you want recognition or you want this or that, like there's a cost that will be paid unless you are of pure intention. You know what I'm saying? And so when I make my wishes, when I made those first initial, the big three, I call them, okay, the big three, it's like I made those wishes without ever any hope of really seeing it happen, without any hope of it getting validated, without any hope of it getting confirmation, without any reward, okay, without even any witness to it. You know what I'm saying? But then I came out here and I made all of you witnesses of it. I did, because I wanted to share that this is the stuff that's happening to me. And I feel like I can't be the only one out there that is capable of doing these things. So how else, like, am I gonna, like, I had to follow my heart, you know? And my heart was like, you need to go out there and share this. But it was never for a reward of like, oh, I want people to like pat me on the back, like, oh wow, you did great. You know, and it's like, and there are other people out there I feel like that also can look at it in a way of being like a little bit jealous, a little bit envious. Like, why does she get to, like, how can she do, like, the energy is there where you can sense that in people. And I'm sorry, I can't help any of you guys when it comes to that. Like, you have to know who you are, you have to know your reasons and your intentions and your motivations. And if love is, hold on, love is the way to a contented mind. So if you can be doing things from a place of love, I think that it will lead you to a content mind. So I think that this is what it's saying. It's saying make decisions, okay, based on love, because we are getting ready to be overflowing. This is a new beginning, okay, a new way of feeling. Again, like I said, a new hope, right, where the sun is shining, the dawn is finally come. You know, which is funny because the card that I've been pulling for myself lately has been the death card and judgment, death and judgment. And death is like the sun sets, right? Well, now the sun is rising again. Okay. And this is your destiny. This is fate. Like, you will see this timeline shift where you want to have your physical comfort needs met. Like, let's say okay, like, I'm thinking of a friend of mine. Like, let's say you're hoping to have a for sure stable home life, like, right, like a house, like physical house. There will be a cost to that. If you can shift over into this new timeline of manifesting with love, maybe. But either way, it's like this is your fate. You are on the right path. If you've been doubting, like, what guides, what are you saying to me? Like, am I really supposed to keep going this way? Am I really supposed to keep doing this thing? It's like they're saying, yes, you are being guided to do that. But it's small little steps that lead to something bigger. Okay, so I want you to make the shift. I want you to realize this is your fate, this is your destiny. And the hidden energies that we got underneath is the 8 of Rods. So you have taken a lot of actions. All right, you're going to need to fire those arrows off and take a lot of different actions to see which ones hit. Okay, because some of them are going to hit the target and some of them maybe they won't. You know, but either way, if you don't take those underlying, so it's like there's a lot of actions you've been taking in all these different ways. Just know, like, that's the hidden energy is working to help shift you on your timeline, and follow your heart, follow that inner spark, because that is what's going to lead to your highest timeline of love and joy, soul's growth and expansion. This is your fate. This is your destiny. The Star card is one of my favorite cards, honestly, because it's saying that, for me, what it says is that this is part of your life path. This is part of your chart that you wrote out. You know? So I really, that Cryptid Huntress. Favorite name. I love the Cryptid Huntress. Anyway. So anyway, I hope that helps. How long have I been going? Okay, 2 hours and 15 minutes. That's not too bad, actually. Okay, so that's the collective card pull I have for us this week. I really hope that helps. Let's see, I do have that conference coming up. This could be for me about the conference, because there is a cost to it. You know what I'm saying? Like, I will be physically comfortable, for sure. There is a cost to it. New love timeline. It's destiny. Taking a lot of actions. Okay, so if there's, I'm feeling generous right now, and if there is anyone out there in the chat that wants a tarot card pull before I leave, I'm willing to do that. If not, then we'll just head on out. And I'll go and I will be content, because I have at long last uncovered some of the deepest, greatest mysteries in my life, and how I ended up where I'm at, and how I know where I'm going forward. I'm glad, Joanna. I'm glad you like that. Is there anyone who wants a tarot reading? Hand raised. All right, we got a taker. Low. Okay, hold on. Oh, I'm glad the Cryptid Huntress is for the collective, so it's for you too. However it hits you, that's how it's meant to get you. All right, so low tech rev. All right, I got you. We're going to pull some cards for low tech rev. Is there any questions specifically you have? You can ask a question, or I can just do a general. I'm going to leave the glasses on for now just so that I can see the messages. If I don't see a question, then I'm just going to do general. Low tech rev. Tune into your energy then. Okay. Oh, you met me in Sedona. Well, that's wonderful. It's so funny. I was just talking about Sedona the other day. Oh, Susan's also got her hand raised for a general. All right, we'll do 2 readings. We'll do low tech rev. What's your real name though, low tech rev? Because I don't remember. I'm sorry, I don't really know people by their screen names that well. Okay. It's so funny. Okay, here we go. We're just going to do a general reading for you, low tech rev, since you didn't put a question. Okay, so we're tuning in, and that does help me connect to your energy better, knowing that we met before. So I can tap back into the Sedona energy when we were together there. Okay. Last card shows low tech revolution. What would spirit like to tell them? Yeah, I got it. Okay. 1, 2, and 3. Okay. Wait a second. Hold on. I'm seeing the blue muscle car like your hair. Oh my gosh, you had the blue muscle car like my hair. Oh no, I'm so bad. I can't remember it still. I'm so sorry. Let me finish pulling these cards here though real quick. I'm sorry. It's been a couple years and I'm sweating. I'm gonna start leaking hair dye off me here soon. Okay, here we go. 1, 2, and yeah, for the message. 2. Oh, I like this message for you. 1, 2, and 3. Oh, 2 cards came out together. Oh, shut the front door. I'm not. Why would. This is. I should have ended it at the collective. I'm sorry, low tech rev. I apologize right off the bat. Okay. So, so the first card we got for you is the Queen of Rods, right? So the Queen of Rods, she is a very fiery character. She is very much needs to do things the way she wants to do them. She needs to go out there. She needs to be creative. She needs to put on the. She needs to put herself out there in a way that makes her be seen. Basically, like she. But there, the thing about the Queen of Rods is that you have to remember that she needs to release all shame because shame is the creative killer. Sorry, they're already trying to talk to me again. And I'm like, no, not right now. We're doing this reading right now. And so unless you have something to say about the reading, okay? So the thing about, so the Queen of Rods, she also has something that she might feel like she's hiding from the world because it's something that's embarrassing about herself. But actually, if she were to let that be seen, she'd realize that actually isn't as embarrassing as she thinks it is. Right? So it's like, go ahead and really put yourself out there and really, like, it's time, like a Rods person, they don't ask for permission to do stuff. They just do the thing. All right. That's what Rods is all about. It's about action. So that she needs to take action. So what does she need to take action on? The Two of Cups. Okay. And so what the Two of Cups is about is seeing eye to eye with someone, getting to their level, having some type of exchange, an agreement of some sort where you're coming together for a partnership, for a purpose. And I mean, it could be a romantic partnership, or it might be a relationship you're already in. It could be a potential one that is coming up. But either way, or maybe I'm getting the feeling it could be like a relationship you're in right now, because the card we got next to it, looking at it, is the Fool card. So perhaps you're feeling a bit foolish about this, but it's not. Okay, the Fool is not an actual fool. The Fool is actually the highest potential of spirit in human form before they know what they're fully capable of. So it's like they are learning to trust their intuition and to use their intuition. And so maybe they feel like they looked at this Two of Cups, this meeting. Like maybe that you showed yourself in a certain way as the Queen of Rods energy would bring. And so now they're looking at it and they're feeling like, oh, wow, maybe I was a fool for even doing that. And maybe even it's time to reformulate your beliefs, because we got the Tower card that came out with the Fool. Okay. And so the Tower card is all about truth needing to stand firm with a firm foundation. So if there's some part of truth that is not that is in your life, or things that you're holding on to that you think are true beliefs about yourself that actually aren't, it needs to come falling down to the ground. Like a Tower moment is an opportunity to know who you are better and to know what your true beliefs are, because your beliefs are what builds your reality. Okay, your belief that you are capable of doing things like things that I mentioned with manifestations, it's your belief in it that makes it possible. So it's like, let's say you built your tower up around this I believe that, okay, well, the world only works like this. It's like gravity works like this. And, you know, you do this and this thing happens and you do that. And it's like, it's not possible for those manifestations, that instant manifestation stuff to happen, because I don't believe that that's possible. Well, the fool is trying to show you, actually, yes, it is. And it's time to bring that belief system down and open up and expand your mind and your consciousness when it comes to that. It's almost like you need to even have an inner union with yourself, because that's what the Two of Cups could also mean. It's like really meeting yourself inside yourself to see what you're truly and fully capable of. Okay. But, you know, if this is talking about an actual relationship, right, or potential relationship, just know that this relationship is going to challenge you to know who you really are, and to get rid of anything that you've been holding on to that isn't really you and that is a false belief about yourself. So, like, what's a false belief the Queen of Rods could have about herself? That the thing that she's hiding from the world, that she thinks is embarrassing, that she thinks isn't worthy of being seen, that's going to make her look bad, is actually the thing that makes her lovable, because it makes her a complete person and it brings the depth out of her, you know? And so, lastly, we got the hidden energies, which is the moon. So it's like, it's not going to be easy for you to see these things right away, because you don't have the full sun on you. You have, it's like only some things are being lit up. So this is where I would say, like, the full energy again comes in. It's like you're going to need to go out and have an adventure in the world, and you're going to need to uncover and realize that the way you've been seeing things isn't exactly the way they actually are, which would make sense going with the tower moment too. You know what I'm saying? That the tower moment in itself is the reality of the truth coming, and the lightning bolt happening, and it's like having an epiphany. It's like an epiphany. Oh my God, actually it was just this way. I thought it was this way the whole time, and it really wasn't. Okay, but it can be driving you mad, is the thing. Not knowing what it is and what it isn't. It's like, the moon can like drive you mad, but it can also be the greatest spark to your creativity, you know? So keep that in mind. Oh, hold on. Okay. Oh, wow. Okay. And you're moving from Oregon back to Florida and launching a YouTube channel. Okay, I'll come and subscribe. Oh, I'm glad. I'm glad that you were moved. That makes me happy. All right. Okay, I will do for Susan, since she raised her hand. I'm happy to have anyone asking her. There was one time I asked if anyone wanted a reading, and no one said anything. And I was like, how can people not want a reading? Right? Like, usually there's always people in here that want readings. Hi, Colin says. So hi to everyone else that I didn't get to mention by name. I'm saying hi to you now. Okay, for Susan. Let's see what Susan. Okay. Susan, whatever's coming up for you on this one I'm going to be witnessing that, right? Considering we're going to be hanging out together within the next week. Within the next week, I cannot believe it's less than a week away. Oh my God. Okay, yes. For Susan. Okay, you're really easy to tap into, because I know you so well. Ooh, you could be feeling a little bit stuck. You could be feeling a little bit stuck for Susan Vaughn. What would Spirit like to tell Susan? What message does Susan? Wow. Okay, then we're just going to have cards try and fall out all over us. That's interesting. Oh, wow. Judgment card comes out for me again. Yay. My hair. I'm sorry. The bangs. Okay, last shuffle for Susan. Yeah, the cards are ready. Oh my God. Okay. Ask about travel weirdness. I'm not packed yet. Of course, I'm not packed yet either. Girl, are you kidding? You packed before then? Okay, travel weirdness. Okay, we need to know how the travels for Susan are going to be. What is Susan traveling look like? What does Spirit want to tell us about Susan traveling? All right. Oh boy. I hope you don't get stuck anywhere. It might be a little bit of a hang. Oh, well, you are going to have to wait for me to get there. So, I mean, that could make sense for that. In regards to traveling. All right, here we go, Susan. 1, 2, and 3. Oh, baby. Come on now. 1, 2, and 3. Okay. Here's Susan. 1, 2, 3. Very strange cards to get. Okay, so I don't know what's going on with you when it comes to traveling, but it seems that you're traveling with some extra mental baggage. Okay, so I don't know if someone's been giving you a hard time. I'm trying to think of how this would come into play when it comes to traveling. Okay. Because the Three of Swords is about like the things that you have made a part of your realm and your inner world, like things that have pierced you mentally, I guess you could say, that make you maybe more worried about traveling now because maybe you've had some bad experiences and you don't even realize that it was those previous bad traveling experiences that are affecting your worry about traveling now. Okay, it's like keep working. Like it's like I don't know if you're having an issue with possibly getting off work or like there's maybe some issue going on with your job, but this is definitely a work card, and they're saying like you got to keep doing what you're doing because you are creating something real. So it's like I'm trying to think of how this would relate to the traveling question. It's like you've done this before, like you know how to do it. Just keep going. Like it'll be okay. I don't get the sense that it's going to be. I'm like trying to tap into it real quick. You're traveling. I don't get the sense of anything going wrong. Okay, and then lastly, we got the Page of Cups. So it's like the Page of Cups is going to bring you new activations. So whatever, you're already so activated psychically. This has to do with bringing you a message of love. That's what this fish always makes me think of whenever I see him jumping up into the Page of Cups face. But it's almost like, okay, so the Page of Cups is emotionally still unknown to themselves. So perhaps there's things that you don't realize that are emotionally in your in your heart that you aren't even realizing that it's there, and it's not going to be until it's like right up in your face that you're even going to be able to recognize like, oh, that's what that is. This is what I'm feeling. But until you stop and you take a look at that, also it means that you're very, very sensitive, and you know this. Like this is the most sensitive empath card. They really like are able to feel other people's feelings in a way where it kind of takes on to them. So you really have to make sure you keep your own energy cleared, or at least be able to identify what is yours and what is someone else's. And maybe that could even be part of your bad experiences when it comes to traveling, because when you go out into groups and when you go out traveling, okay, it's like you're going to be exposed to all of these other people's energies, and they're not always positive energies. And how much of their energy are you letting affect you, in some type of negative way? All right. And then lastly, the hidden energies we got for you is another page, which is the Page of Pentacles. Okay. And so the Page of Pentacles, he is all about, he has a real gift. He has something that is yet to be chiseled from the stone. You know what I'm saying? It's like being a statue carver, right? It's like, you know how they say that the form of whatever that statue is going to be is already in the stone itself, and you just have to chisel away to find it. So again, if we're talking about the pages, when it comes to the Page of Cups and maybe not being able to recognize it, I'm sure you do know, but having to figure out, okay, wait a second, I'm feeling this certain thing. Is that really me or is it someone else? It's like you have a real gift that maybe you need to chisel a little bit more away on, because yes, you do it well when it comes to physics. You know what I'm saying? Like, I know you're a really good healer when it comes to being able to feel other people's physical pains and everything like that. But maybe you're also not recognizing how much you're actually feeling other people's emotional pains as well. And so in order to do that and maybe like psychically be able to pick up on them and telepathically talk to them, it's like you're going to need to chisel that gift that you have that isn't refined yet in this way. Okay, so in that way, there's something that is unrefined in you, but that is a real talent, a real gift. And you'll be able to figure that out if you just put in the work and the effort. But ultimately, I don't see you having any issues with traveling. I'm just going to ask real quick, like, is there going to be any hang-ups? Or wait, is Susan going to have smooth travels next week? Is she going to have smooth travels there and back? Yes or no? Yes, you will. But you got, like, stay focused. There's a lot. I'm guessing because of our layovers and stuff like that, there's a lot to be emotional about. But ultimately, the Empress is a yes card. Stay in your goddesshood, I guess you could say. Like, stay positive, know who you are. Like, the Empress is basically a mature version of, she's a mix of all of the queens. So it's like, be your fullest self. Like, you know you got this. You know you got this. Yes, there's a lot of cups on the table, but just take on one at a time. It's like, me and the rest of the collective have been getting the Seven of Cups for a while now. I feel it's like we're all overwhelmed. It's like God has put all these things on the table for us to like look at all at once, and it's like, which one do I do first? Which one do I even do first? You know, and it's like, pick one, focus on that, get it done. Like, let's say if it's packing, get the packing done first. That's the thing that you're focused on. You're seeing the most. Don't get distracted. Don't be like, okay, I'm going to go pack now, and then you get distracted, like, oh, I'm gonna like pay the guy from the Airbnb now instead. You know, it's like you got all these things going on. You got this. We're gonna have a good time. Okay, wait a second. Let me see. Traveling without sleep. Oh, is this because you're going straight from work to there? Oh, your pocket beauty. Yes. Well, yes, we definitely are going to be activated more because being around new people's energies, that always does that. We share each other frequencies and things like that. I am also looking forward to getting away because I literally am running on empty, and I've been having a literal transformative death regeneration happening inside of me for like weeks. So, okay. On that note, I'm ready to go smoke weed because I am a weed smoker. Don't judge me for it. I don't really care if you do anyway, but I'm going to go smoke some weed. I'm going to fill up my vape. I would like to say that I had a great time here today, but it actually was a pretty heavy transmutation that I feel like I just did, and my camera's following me all over the round. I want to say thank you to everyone who's been here for this entire almost 2 hours and 40 minutes. Please think about hitting the button for me. Again, I only do this for the people who even God wants to send to me. You know what I'm saying? Like, I've just noticed that the number of followers and subscribers you have doesn't affect the way you feel about yourself. Really, if you have tons of followers, it doesn't really make you feel like, oh, I'm more important, or this feels better. It doesn't really do that, you know. So it's like, I am thankful and I am grateful to each and every person that finds me here, and I hope that I can just stay pure in my intentions of my original reasons for coming out here, my original reasons for exposing myself in any way, and I hope that people find value in that, and that I just hope people can find value in that, and that it can help them in their life somehow. And I am looking for connection too, because I'm not completely just only God alone isn't enough to sustain a human being, I feel like, on this planet. Like, you still need actual connections with other humans if you're ever going to grow. Like, yes, God will show you all the love in the world, like, if you're truly deeply connected and devoted to Him. You know, but the point of coming to this planet, if you just were going to be in a state of love and bliss all the time, then you wouldn't even be here. Like, because this is a place to learn, this is a place to grow and experience for God, and hopefully it can be a good experience, you know, or hopefully it can be a growing experience. I'll say that much. Yeah. That's funny. I actually saw a Lyran in a dream before I went to East City too. Yeah. Oh, I definitely got high in Sedona too. There ain't no place I don't go to where I get high. Joanna, thank you. That really means a lot to me. I was like, I can see like the wrinkle in my forehead, and it stays now. I'm getting older. I'm getting older. Lord God, please let my message be received well to all that listen in the future as this stream comes to a close. I just want to say that I love you guys. And sorry for you, Victor. Getting high off of holy energies. Have you ever smoked weed? You ever smoked weed? I don't know about all that. I've gotten high off energies too, but why not get higher? I shouldn't be mean, but that wasn't really mean though, was it? No, I don't think so. Okay, all right. I guess I'm gonna be taking. Oh, game design. Nima, where were you 2 hours ago? Oh my God. Thank you for listening, Brian. I'm really excited to see you next week. Really excited. Yeah, Nima. The fuck? Unbelievable. Unfucking real guy. I'm gonna hold you. Get off of this fucking string. You're getting it. Okay. I love you guys. Take care. Have a great weekend. If you're coming out to Mount Shasta next week, I'll see you there. It's going to be great. It's going to be a pleasure. Now that I've dumped all of these cups out, I'm thinking I'm hoping to God that I feel better now from all of that. I'm hoping, because I'm like, I don't even know what else to do. I don't even know where else to go with all of that. Like, I'm just like, it's just staying inside me. I have to let it out. I can't just keep it right here, because that's what it was. It was just like right here. I was like, bah, take it all. Done with it. Okay. Love you guys. Wait. Yeah. Wait, hold on. Wait. What? Need week? I can make it. I what? How? What? Next week I'm going to be in Mount Shasta, Low Tech Rev, for Awakening the Dream Within conference. Oh God. You want to come? I'm sure there's still tickets. I haven't even bought my ticket yet. I'm honestly just going for the people. I'm honestly just going for the people. I'm just going to hang out with actual like-minded people that I love and care about. You know, friends. Yes. Mm-hmm. Well, come on down. We're ready for it. It's called Awakening the Dream Within. Victor, is that what it's called? Victor's going to know better than me. He's better than that. He's better on that. Oh, yeah. You know I can't not step off the stream at least once. Oh, God. There he did. He got it. Victor got the thing for us. Green Chakra Club. Oh, here we go. We're about to mix the juice. About to mix the juices. It's called The Calling and Angelic Reunion. That's what it's called, but the website is Awakening the Dream Within. But they're calling it the Angelic Reunion. I don't know about all that. I mean, for me, obviously. Definitely angelic. Be angelic. David Wilcock was an angel. Yeah, it is confusing. Uh-huh. Okay. We're going to make Uranus great again. I agree. Let's make the gas giants not gas giants. Wait, let's make the. Oh, I get what you're saying. Let's make the gas. Wait, I know I didn't. I didn't get it. Gas giants. No, it would not be that, Victor. This is my astrologer guy. This is Nima. Game design likes to change his name every couple weeks. Okay. Anyway, we got the link. It's 2 hours 45 minutes in. My body is hurting. I probably need to go cry again. And I love you all. Take care. Feel free to leave a comment at the bottom underneath the screen if there's anything that did move you, or if you any reason you just want to be a hater, you could do that too if you really wanted. The comment will still get me seen more on the algorithm. So I mean, I guess the ends would justify the means for me, but I don't know, something to think about. There's one more thing that I need to tell you guys. Okay, hold on. There's one. Okay, just remember this.